Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional. Strap in. The show starts right now.
¿Cómo están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge, and we are back this Saturday. And goddamn, I've got a busy fucking Saturday. I've got this podcast. I'm trying to put in some floors. I got a hockey game to go to tonight.
Oh,
I'm all over the fucking place today.
Tucson Roadrunners?
Tucson Roadrunners,
all
man.
Right.
Yeah, so I have a super fucking busy day. There's been a ton of shit happening throughout the week. We're back to the one episode a week. And we got a lot of shit to catch up on because the NFL has been a fucking madhouse. We got college football national championship coming up. Rumors of head coaches possible coming to the NFL. It's wild. All of the things that are happening. And it's been a pretty good week. I started out, this Monday, called off Monday, Tuesday. Amber was not feeling good. Producer Amber was under the weather. So I stayed home, watched the kids, watched the Browns on Monday night, get the shit kicked out of them. It was not great. Was able to join in on another podcast Monday night, kind of before the game. Big shout out to those guys over at Big Play for, letting me hop in, talk Browns before the game. Then hosted a Twitter Spaces during the game, had some guys in there doing that. Big shout out to Mike in the 330. Guy that may actually try to join the show today, talk a little bit of Browns when it gets to that time. Pretty cool guy, knows his shit. And then I hopped on another Twitter Spaces. At this point, game's over. I'm a little drunk. I'm a little pissed off.
Yeah.
And I was letting the host of that old P Chops kind of have it in the messages. And then he finally let me on. I was on there for about 10 seconds. Like, you're drunk. Get the fuck out of here. But listen, that's going to happen. If anybody who watched that fucking Browns game, who is a Browns fan, if you weren't drunk, I don't know what you were doing because it was terrible to watch. But been trying to hop into that social media realm a little bit more, get a little bit more on the Twitter, hop in other podcasts if able. Obviously, you were not able to join me. You were working.
At work.
Yeah.
Back on that evening work shift schedule for me, which is why we're down to the one a week, which – It's fine. It happens or whatever,
Right.
We'll get it figured out. I mean, as we are slowly growing things here or whatnot, being able to be a little bit more mobile with it if need be. And we need to have, like an emergency episode or something like that while I'm at work. I could probably throw the phone on and take care of it if I need to. But,
good to know. We might absolutely need to do that. I mean, playoffs are coming up. There's going to be a lot of things that come out, especially if COVID fucking rears its ugly head again during the playoff time. We might have to toss on a little emergency episode.
Possibly. Absolutely. But same thing as far as the whole sickness around the house. Old girl had something,
right?
A bug for like a day. So I took the day off on Thursday to assist with that. And then yesterday, I could tell, I got a little bit of a sore throat and this and that or whatever, but I was feeling generally fine. Nothing that I would have ever not gone to work for, except for the government put out an email and said, if you have any of these things, it is incumbent upon you to not go to work. And I was like, oh darn it.
Oh, shucks.
Son of a bitch. So yeah, called out last night, which was pretty nice. But yeah, we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about in the NFL last week. I know it's going to kind of seem like we're a little bit late to the table on things like Antonio Brown and stuff like that. Yeah. But we've had, a moment to digest what has happened and kind of gather our thoughts. I'm interested to see what your thoughts at the end of the day are.
And that Antonio Brown thing keeps changing. Yeah. By the day, there's new information that is coming out, potentially damning information for both sides of this.
I don't know. I mean, some of the information coming out against Antonio Brown, I guess, is just saying that he's banging out hot chicks.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, oh, darn it.
Yeah,
they got me again. I'm banging hot sluts on Instagram.
Yep, banging the Instagram chicks and
OnlyFans.
Yeah,
darn it.
Yeah, that's a tough way to go about your life.
You got me.
Sneaking them into hotels, going out, getting paid millions of dollars, and potentially, not liking how many targets you're getting, and throwing a little temper tantrum on the field.
There's
and
some potential valid reasons to AB's issues, but I don't know if we want to get into that just yet. We want to talk about any college football stuff that we got going?
That's actually let's go into college football first, then we'll go into the AB stuff because that's going to take us right into our NFL stuff.
Absolutely.
All right, so Monday night, 6 p.m. Mountain Time or 8 o'clock Eastern Time, depending on where you're at. We're going to have a national championship game. We're going to have Alabama versus Georgia, and this is going to be a rematch of that SEC championship game, an SEC championship game in which Alabama kind of did what they wanted, able to, kind of put it on Georgia for the first time all year that we've seen anybody really, kind of move that ball effectively against that absolutely dominant Georgia defense. Georgia came back and, was able to smack the shit out of Michigan, which I was pretty thrilled about. And also I expected to happen. Listen, I love the Big Ten. I root for everybody in the Big Ten except for fucking Michigan. I don't give a shit if Michigan loses every single game and they drag the conference down. Fuck Michigan. I'm an Ohio State guy. I'm not rooting for them. So I was very happy to see them get their asses beat by Georgia. I'm a little glad that Ohio State was not in that position because I feel like it may have gone a similar direction there. Georgia's really goddamn good. And this Alabama team, I mean, they're also very good. We've seen them get tripped up a little early in the year by A&M, and this could be an interesting game. I think Georgia has always been kind of that little brother. When are they going to take that leap and become, big brother or equal to Alabama? Well, this is their shot. They've had this opportunity before, played in the national championship against Alabama, very low-scoring game, and could not get the win. Oh, I'm sorry, that was another SEC championship game. And then that's when Tua came in and was able to seal the deal for Alabama, coming in late off the bench. This time around, I'm not sure that that's the way it's going to go. I like Georgia in this game. The books like Georgia in this game. Georgia is -2.5. This is after Bama beat them in that SEC championship game.
Yeah, it's still surprising to me that they're favorite. Look, I obviously you called Bama losing this year and all that, so that there is a script, a game plan out there to beat them potentially, but I just don't see Saban not winning this game.
I mean, that he's Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
He's
it's like after last week, they're showing pictures and everything of the players celebrating, and Saban's just
this is what we
ready
expected
for next week.
Yep,
we're gonna go in there next week and we're gonna do what we're gonna do. like that's just the mindset that I see from them all the time. I don't expect that to really change. I think that they have such supreme talent on Alabama and such a culture of winning that he's going to have them prepared to go in there not expecting to win, but just being prepared to win. I don't know. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be one of those. It's going to be like last time. Like I feel like we could feel like we were watching a replay of the last time Georgia and Bama met.
I mean, we very well could be seeing that. It's really hard to pick against Bama at any point. I was pretty confident that they would lose 1 this year. I don't know if they'll lose 2. They absolutely might lose 2, and I think Georgia is good enough. They just have to get over that little hump there, that feeling like they are not equals to Alabama. This Georgia team has been ranked number 1 basically all fucking year. They're so goddamn good, and I think that they have an opportunity to kind of rewrite the script, kind of get out from under that umbrella instead of saying, Alabama is obviously very clearly the class of the SEC, maybe Georgia takes that next step. I'm not sure I'm betting this game. If I were going to bet this game, though, I think I would be on Georgia on the money line. I'm not taking the spread here. I'm not giving Bama any fucking points. But money line right now is paying minus 135 for Georgia. So I could get a decent amount of money out of that. 135 is not terrible odds. However, if you are going to bet this game and you think Alabama's going to win, I mean, you can get plus 115 odds right now. Hey, anything plus is a good fucking bet. And getting Bama as a dog is a great bet. So a lot of ways you can go. I feel like I'm going with Georgia in this one. I want to see it. I'm tired of Nick Saban winning all the goddamn national championships. It's very much the Yankees or the Patriots of old. So
yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. I feel the same way. We've talked about this all the time. We like parity. We like to see change we like to see the underdog. Even though technically in this case, Georgia's not being considered the underdog. I can't bring myself to say that Bama's not going to win this one. I feel like it's insanity to continue to try to talk myself into that. So I'm going with Bama winning this game. I'm currently trying to pull up some betting stuff here because I'd like to put some money down on it just because, Crimson Tide right now, they're getting good odds, so fuck it. And it's nice if you want to put a little bit of money on the game or whatever for your underdog or something like that. Then it gives you even more impetus to want to root for Georgia, for the Bulldogs there. Yeah, I'm to be completely honest, like you said, you got a bunch of stuff going on today. I got a bunch of stuff going on. I'm not completely sure I'm going to be watching the game.
Well, it's Monday night.
Oh, that's right.
So you will be at work when this happens.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're still feeling slightly under the weather.
I mean, I feel great.
Hey, I mean, I feel good. I know I'm negative for COVID again. Thank you, government, for making me test for COVID.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fun day at work. But, yeah, man, I'm excited to watch this game. I don't typically like to watch SEC football, but I'm going to watch this one. I want to see Georgia get over the hump.
All righty. So I'm going to throw up the Lineman Lounge hotline number just in case anyone wants to say what's up to all of us on this Saturday morning before we get into some football games.
The football stuff a little later, yeah.
Because we do have Saturday games today.
We do have some Saturday games that we got to make sure that we absolutely get our picks in on. But before we do that, I think it's probably time we dive into that Antonio Brown stuff. It's kind of it was a very weird situation. If you're a football fan, you probably know what has happened. Anybody who does not know, Antonio Brown, this Sunday, the Buccaneers were losing to the Jets, a team that they absolutely should not have been losing to. There was possibly some little dust up, little altercation about who's getting targets in the locker room at halftime. Antonio Brown was...
I think that's actually been Bruce Arians came out in this presser and said that there was issues in the locker room at halftime and that got handled, and players handled that one apparently.
Yeah, I think
amongst themselves.
I feel like Mike Evans is one of those guys who's a leader in that locker room, been there for his entire career, probably the leader of that wide receiver room, and took care of that with AB. But coming out, they're trying to get Antonio Brown to go back in the game for one of the personnel packages he is a part of. And Antonio says, no, I'm not fucking going. I'm hurt. At least that's what Antonio is saying. He's indicating that he is hurt. He's not going back in the game. He's done. And there's a conversation between he and Bruce Arians where Bruce says, hey, what the hell's going on? Well, coach, I'm banged up. I'm hurt. And apparently according to Bruce, he had not gone through the protocols and talking to the medical staff about all of this. And Bruce basically said, get your ass in the game or get the fuck out of here. Get off my sideline. To which Antonio Brown said, fuck it, I'm out. Took his shit off, threw his own personal equipment into the stands and kind of jogged off, did a couple jumps, threw up the deuces, and
considered apparently mooning the crowd.
So
which would have been hilarious.
It would have been hilarious. But then after the game, Bruce Arians says, Antonio Brown is no longer a Buck. And then shit just starts flying on social media. We get Antonio Brown saying, no, Bruce Arians knew I was hurt. We see some leaked text messages from Antonio Brown between he and a BA, as he so eloquently put it in that text message. And then there's some things about Guerrero, Tom Brady's trainer. Antonio Brown has said some things about Tom Brady now. He is attacking everybody in that organization.
We've got multiple competing narratives in this whole thing. So there's two thought processes that Brown had multipliers in his contract that he was getting ready to hit, and the team wasn't playing him, and that might be why he's upset, wasn't getting the target share. There's AB saying that he's injured, and that's why he didn't want to play or wasn't able to play. You've got the team just kind of pointing to him being like a prima donna and not being willing to play, being a bad teammate, that sort of thing. You've got an OnlyFans / Instagram model, what have you,
right?
Who has now kind of coming at AB, who apparently was offered $10,000 by AB's camp to keep quiet,
which is fucking wild.
But she's coming out saying that she was snuck into the hotel room the night before, got it on with him a couple times. Apparently he's one pump chump or something like that, according to her, that she's got videos and is going to release that.
Oh, wow.
You've got,
I didn't hear that. I didn't see that one.
Yeah. She's also starting to release DMs from NBA players and stuff like that.
Okay,
married NBA players. And by the way, this chick, I'm not even going to go into looking up her name again. She gained fame beginning of the pandemic for licking a toilet seat to get COVID. So real classy.
Clearly.
But to each their own, I suppose. You've got a lot of different competing narratives here. You even after the game, there's something that we absolutely have to talk about, which is AB's mental health.
Right.
I don't know that his mental health is in question here. Like there's an issue.
He has come out and said as much that this has nothing to do with any mentals going on.
And he's saying that, but I think he said that for all of his weird shit that's happened.
Okay, recently. So if he's trying to say for everything that he has done in the past, I don't agree with AB. I believe that there are some things that are probably going on.
Yeah. I think, look, I'm no psychologist or anything like that, but I feel like he definitely has like a bipolar issue of some sort.
Yeah.
We see these stretches where he's able to operate and function relatively normally and stay towing the line. And then you kind of see him go off the deep end with stuff. You see these wild outbursts beyond what most people would normally do. I'm not saying that isn't playing into this. It definitely could be. And it seemed like initially that's where like Tom Brady and stuff, when he was asked questions after the game about it, it's just like, we need to be there for AB and stuff like that.
Get him help.
It wasn't him, going at him and saying like, this is bad necessarily. It's just like, we need to be good teammates, good friends and stuff like that. He needs to get help. While I do think that he probably has bipolar or something like that is playing a factor into this, I don't know that that's necessarily the story. I don't think he just like flipped a switch and went out the deep end with this. I think that this is a culmination of a bunch of stuff, whether it's just AB's a prick, bad teammate in some instances, but it's also an NFL organization pushing to win a championship and expecting their players to fight through injuries and things like that.
Maybe pushing him a little too hard. I also think there's a factor that he felt like he was not appreciated or respected by the team after the fake COVID card incident and the suspension, that he didn't feel the love. That is definitely one of the narratives out there. There's just a lot to unpack. Now, I think that there are some probably things that are going on with AB. I believe that hit by Vontaze Burfict probably changed his life a little bit.
Yeah. I wouldn't believe so, or I wouldn't doubt that. It seems like, from stuff that I've read in the past, even back to college, he wasn't always the best teammate, but talent normally can trump a lot of those things.
He's always been
People
a mercurial
overlook it.
kind of guy. He's kind of does his things by himself.
And we got Abby Barton back. AB has problems, but I believe they did try to push him too hard. Yeah, it seems like
I do kind of agree here. I think that AB does have problems, and I do think that Bruce Arians was probably pushing a little hard. I mean, they know that AB has been injured, that he was working, I would imagine they know he's working with Guerrero.
Yeah.
I mean,
it seems like the medical staff actually did know that he had this ankle or leg injury, but that they were treating it.
I think
to what extent they were treating it.
Well, and they were trying to get him to go see their own designated specialist, whereas AB was dealing with his own doctors. And NFL teams never like when you're seeing your own guys necessarily.
That's part of his press release too. So, I mean, you've got two competing groups right now. It's, AB's obviously going to defend himself and the team's obviously going to defend themselves. And I don't know that we're going to get a complete answer unless this goes to some sort of litigation. And even then, I'm not sure. As it stands right now, AB has been released by the Buccaneers finally.
Yes.
He has
It took a little while for that to happen. I was thinking that there was a chance that BA was going to go back on that, and they were going to talk about, okay, we're going to try to get this guy some help, because they were trying to make it sound like a mental issue. And obviously, if they just cut bait and say, well, fuck AB, that doesn't look great for the organization.
Yeah.
And then when the release texts and all of that came out, that was, I'm pretty sure, the
going
final straw.
Tom and stuff like that.
When at Tom, he released a single. He went on podcast. He said, Tom Brady's not my fucking friend. He just wanted me there so they could try to win another championship.
And so he could look good.
And so Tom could look good. I mean, a lot of those things definitely start playing a factor in the release that eventually happened, I believe.
Yeah. It sounds like he's now elected to get surgery on that ankle. So there was an expectation that, they're going to release him, and then another one of these, playoff teams is going to pick him up.
Well, that won't be happening now.
It doesn't sound like that is going to happen because he's going to get that surgery. Abby, they also know he's unstable, even though he's talented. AB is probably too unstable to be in the NFL at all. And
we're starting to get into that point. Now, talent in the NFL trumps all. They will bring in a guy who has legal issues, mental issues. They'll do a lot of things.
Ray Lewis killed a man.
Ray Lewis, he was acquitted of murder, but he did kill a guy. If you are supremely talented, the NFL will give you multiple chances. I mean, Browns fans out there know the story of Josh Gordon, a guy who could not stay clean from substances, was in the substance abuse policy multiple times, and then he kept getting chances. Seattle gave him a chance, got suspended again. He's got another chance right now. He's on that Kansas City roster. So supreme talent will give you opportunities, whether you should have them or not.
Yeah. In most cases, not all cases. Obviously, you got your Ray Rices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's you're not really coming back from that. When you do something against another person, it's tough to come back from that unless you're in a Ray Lewis type situation. But if you're more so damaging to yourself or the reputation of yourself or your team, then the NFL likes redemption stories to an extent as well. They do.
I mean, but the NFL's big on protecting the shield. We got to protect the shield,
especially in today's society where social media, a narrative, albeit false ones, even if that narrative's out there, it's tough to come back from that. So that can get passed around super quick and easy. The NFL wants to, under the NFL's policies, you can be suspended just for detriment to the shield. Whether or not you're found guilty or not in a court of law, that's the whole situation with Deshaun Watson. He could settle all of this stuff outside of court, could have no legal repercussions, and he's still probably going to get suspended because it's leaving a black mark on the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get suspended. I don't know when that's going to come down. It'll probably be after he decides he's going to play for a team again. That's why I think they didn't suspend him this year, is because he's like, I'm not fucking playing anyway. So if they give me a suspension, they keep me active, then my suspension's up. So the NFL is going to want to make a point there, and how they will do with most players when that kind of thing happens. This Antonio Brown situation, it's going to continue to evolve. We're going to hear more things. We're going to hear AB say some things. I'm curious if Tom Brady is going to come out and reply to the Tom was never my friend. He was trying to just use me to look good.
I don't think he will.
I'm not sure he should. Now, this is a different Tom that we've been seeing. Tom's a little bit more open, a little bit. I mean, he's doing some more things than he would do in New England. I don't think he should, but I think now being in Tampa, he may actually come out and say something. I don't know if he's going to directly refute and say and go at AB, but there may be a quick statement.
While he's in the NFL, I don't think he will, because I think there is no way that he comes out of it looking as good as he does right now. I think that he will keep it quiet. He's going to take that high road. Tom's a Tom guy. He's going to worry about himself for sure.
Tom is a Tom.
He's going to take that high road. He won't say anything. Now, after his NFL career, I could absolutely see him taking advantage of all of these situations, tell-all book type thing, or what be you, where I could even see him like becoming like a podcaster or something like that, where he just ends up talking about all these different situations over his incredible career. And AB's situation definitely would be something that he would tap
It'll
on
come
then.
up. Those would be the main conversations, would be Belichick and AB.
Yeah. All right, Abby, again, I don't think Tom Brady is stable anymore, even though he's the GOAT. When he threw the tablet, did you see his crazy eyes?
Oh, I mean, Tom's always been that demonstrative guy, like getting pissed. Like, he's one of those guys that people would always say, well, why are we judging a black quarterback for an outburst, but we're not judging Tom Brady for his outbursts? Like, that was a narrative that had happened several times, because Tom can be very demonstrative on the sidelines, especially when things are not going Tom's way.
He's got that Michael Jordan kind of mindset where, it's the supreme competitor type thing. It's like, if we were to see this sort of action from Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady, I think it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that, but we get it because he doesn't give a fuck about anything other than winning. No. I don't think Tom will say anything at this point. I think he's just going to be focused on playoffs, going to the Super Bowl, beating Green Bay Packers. That's his focus for right now. We'll see at the end of the season. That's, I think, the first time that we could really get him to speak on it. Obviously, if they were to make the Super Bowl, there's like a week of press leading up to it, and he's probably going to get pestered about it. Mm-hmm. And I still see him probably just being like, hey, that situation is behind us. We'll talk about it later, something like that. As far as
they make it to the Super Bowl,
if they were to make it to the Super Bowl,
I don't think they are, but
I'm not convinced either. But I just don't think that he will say anything in the season, at least not for right now.
Yeah, I would be interested to see if Tom does say something, what road he takes. I mean, because we've seen Petty Tom come out, or Tom Petty. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if he will. So.
But either way, AB is no longer on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which hurts them, with Godwin being out. If we're talking purely football, they've got Mike Evans, and he's
dinged up.
And he's kind of usually dinged up.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys
anymore as of late. But you've got a bunch of other guys that are maybe potential number twos at some point. But I mean, you got your Scotty Millers and your Johnsons and stuff like that.
I like Scotty Miller.
But those are typily like number threes on teams.
He's a three.
It's something that Tom is probably a little bit more used to, though. Being in New England, they never really had big time number ones other than like Randy Moss. You have Edelman, who's very, very good, but I don't know that he's necessarily a number one type of receiver.
I don't think so.
So you have a little bit more in Mike Evans, and then a bunch of these other guys that are number threes, maybe number twos in the league, and he can still work with that. You still have Gronk and stuff like that. So
I like Cameron Brate.
He still has options. They're just not the powerhouse that they were last year.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how this affects them the rest of the season going forward. I mean, look, when you are losing to a Jets team as long into the game as they were, that isn't very good for inspiring your fan base for the postseason.
And then, luckily, Zach Wilson was playing in that game, and Zach Wilson made an absolute bonehead fucking decision to QB sneak it on 4th and 2 to try to get that first down. That was not called. That was Zach Wilson trying to be the guy when Zach Wilson is just a guy. He's a Jag. And Tom did what Tom does, came back, and they won that game with their, 3, 4, 5 receivers. It was I couldn't believe it. Now, I expect Zach Wilson to make bad decisions, but that was a really bad one. And then people came out afterwards like, fuck, former Jets, other, non-former Jets, just former NFL players, like, this kid has got to learn who he is and how to be unselfish. And that was an incredibly selfish play. It cost the team the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my chance to bury Zach Wilson before we make our picks.
For sure. All right. So there's other little storylines and whatnot throughout the NFL. I don't know if you want to get into any of those before we actually start going into the games, or we can just talk about these games and hit each of these little storylines as we go along.
So we can get into the games and then kind of talk on those storylines as we go, because there's a bunch of little things that are coming up. Especially when we make our picks, we're going to want to bring some of this information in. Some of it's injury related, some of it's COVID, possible coaching hirings that could be coming down. So as we're going through, we'll make our picks. We'll take a little bit extra time. We'll talk about some of these storylines that are popping up around the league.
All right. Well, then with that in mind, let's jump into our games that are happening this afternoon, Saturday, January 8th. We have our first game, 2:30 p.m., Chiefs and Broncos. Chiefs are 11-5. Broncos are 7-9. This game is being played in Mile High in Denver. The line is Kansas City -10.5, over under at 44.5.
So this is a Denver Broncos team that's not playing for anything at this point. Drew Lock is starting at quarterback. Teddy's on IR. They have really good running backs. They have a pretty goddamn good defense. But this Kansas City team is hitting their stride. They lost a tough fucking game last week. They are not out of the race to get first in the AFC. Now, they need a shit ton of help from an unlikely source this week, but they have a chance, so they are going to play their guys. They are going to try to make sure this game is put away. That way they can start pulling guys out towards the back half of this game. Because if you don't have to keep in Pat Mahomes for 4 quarters, I mean, you're not going to. You're guaranteed at least the number 2 seed. If you can put this game away early, you can get some rest and possibly still lock up that number 1 seed. I got Kansas City here, and I got them covering. I think the 10.5 is an easy cover. Vic Fangio looks like he is not going to be the coach in Denver next year. Defensive head coach. They could be going to look for an offensive guy because they're going to be, again, in that quarterback market, because Drew Lock is definitely not the guy. And Teddy, I hope the best for Teddy. I'm sad that his injury history has gone the way it has, but Teddy is what Teddy is at this point.
I think that, like you've talked about a lot, you can be a backup quarterback in this league and you can make a lot of money. And Teddy has shown to be talented enough to be at least a fringe starter.
Yeah, this guy's on the NFL roster for at least another probably 6 to 10 years.
Yeah, if he wants to be 100%. Look, I love Teddy Bridgewater after his time with the Vikings and just the type of guy that he is. Not even talking about the player, the type of guy that he is. I love Teddy. He's going to be that backup. He's going to be the bridge guy, things like that. He's not the answer. We all know that. And like you talked about with Fangio, he might last another year in Denver, but I don't fully expect it. If Denver really thinks that they have a chance to go after an Aaron Rodgers in the offseason or something like that,
then they're going to go get an offensive head coach.
Then I feel like they will go after a guy that fits what Aaron Rodgers wants.
Yep. I 100% agree. They're going to be looking at offense. You could look for a guy like Brett Bieniemy, Dabo out of Buffalo. Mm-hmm. I mean, we got other guys being talked about, like Leftwich. I don't know if he's going to like Leftwich.
No. And, I've got a list on my phone of coaches that because
you guys are going to be in the market.
We're going to be looking for a new head coach. Yep. Guys that I'll be comfortable with. I think Leftwich.
Your lights off, by the way.
Oh, there's a reason.
Oh,
yeah, the season's over, guys.
Oh, okay.
The lights are out.
Turning the lights out.
But I think Leftwich ends up. I think he goes to Jacksonville. It just makes too much sense to me.
Well, I thought the same thing, but there was a name that I heard reported that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
That I absolutely fucking hate, and he should not have this chance right now. But I'm not sure if you know who I'm talking about yet.
I might.
Okay, we're gonna get there. I don't want to.
Old Texans?
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
I might disagree with you on that.
Oh man, okay.
But either way, the Broncos, they definitely could stick with another defensive head coach, but if they're planning on making it a fertile ground for someone like an Aaron Rodgers to go to, they're going to want to build a situation that he wants to go to.
Yeah.
So they'll have done their research and they'll be going after personnel that makes it an enticing position for a future quarterback.
They got a lot of weapons. They have 2 really good running backs. No offense, a fantastic tight end. I like their wide receiver group with Jerry Jeudy. Cortland Sutton is underrated in my opinion. He is so fucking good.
And on defense, they got names. They got Chubb. You know, they've got
their defensive backfield Surtain has come in as a rookie and been fantastic for that team. They need a little bit of pieces, but they don't need much. If they have a legit quarterback, that team is competing against Kansas City for the division title. And if depending on what quarterback you get, they're competing for a Super Bowl. I think that roster is that talented.
Yeah. But as far as this game in particular, I do have Kansas City winning. I'm not gonna pick them to cover, partially because the weather doesn't look like it's going to be great. It's going to be 40 degrees. We're probably going to be seeing some rain snow mixture possibly. Kansas City's more of a passing team in general. That can affect the passing game a little bit. I do fully expect them to win this game because they do have a lot to play for still. It might be a closer margin than we're expecting.
I have this game. The only reason I'm taking this, I got this 21-10 because the Broncos are not going to score because Drew Lock is not very good. I think that 21 points is doable by that Kansas City offense. Even in the shit conditions, they run the ball fairly well.
And Abby's saying that she does believe Kansas City is going to win, but she hopes that Denver does.
Abby coming in with the heat, man. Since Abby has kind of joined the show, she is constant in these comments, and I love it. Thank you for joining the show again, Abby.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. This could be that low scoring game. I still don't completely trust the Chiefs defense. That's why I feel like the Denver can get some points on them. Especially they've got a better rushing attack, Denver does. So I always like the black and blue football, running and pounding the ball when you have bad weather. That's why I think it could be a little bit closer, and I'm not committed or willing to commit to taking the spread just yet.
Okay.
I could see it being closer to a 7-point game, 8-point game.
Okay. I mean, I could absolutely see that as well, but I'm calling a shot, 21-10, Chiefs.
All righty.
If I bet that, I'm sure I would win a shitload of money.
All right. Next game, we have our evening game, 6:15, and we have the Cowboys and the Eagles. This is a little bit of a rivalry game. This is being played in Philly. It's going to be a balmy 22 degrees, according to AccuWeather. The line is Dallas -4, over under 44.5.
Yeah.
So kind of a closer spread there. A little bit closer than I was expecting, to be honest. I do have Dallas winning this game. But the Eagles, they are definitely in the playoff hunt there. The Cowboys are a better team, but we have seen that they haven't been performing in the latter half of the season as good as they should. Kind of brings into some questions there with Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, who is one of those guys being talked about as a head coach candidate. If you looked at the first half of the year, I think that he was much more of a head coach candidate than he is now. The guy's he's young and he's making some odd decisions as far as his offensive play calling. I think that's going to make some people second guess. I think he needs more time in a system as an OC before he's truly looked at as a head coach. If someone's desperate, they could go after him, but I'm not sure.
Offensive coordinators that put together successful offenses are going to get a head coaching opportunity well before a dominant defensive coaches.
Yeah.
Now they've been pretty good on offense. They've sputtered at times this year. I think there was a little bit on Dak as well. We talked about that in the last episode. How Dak, did not look like old Dak. He had a bounce back game. Then we go right back to not playing great against the Cardinals. So I'm on the Eagles in this game. So I'm going to take the spread because so I got it on FanDuel right now at +3.5. I definitely think they can keep it close, and I think they can actually win this game. I think the weather is going to help Philly. Philly knows what they are now. Philly is a team that plays defense, and they run the ball, and they run the ball effectively with their quarterback as well. So they have a bunch of guys that can tote the rock and play good defense. The offensive line for the Cowboys has not played very good this year. That they've been hurt a lot. Dak is not a guy who I'm worried about extending and beating me out of the pocket so much anymore. So I think Philly has a really good chance to win this game, but I definitely like them on the +3.5 here, and I think Philly locks in their spot for the playoffs.
I'm going with the Cowboys, and I am going -4.
And you are going to -4.
Yeah, I do think that they're a better team. My gut just tells me that they're going to be able to put up roughly around 6 points extra over the Eagles, even playing in the Eagles' home right now. I think that the Eagles are a playoff team at this point, but they're not really impressing me. They aren't as consistent as I would like to see. Even though Dallas hasn't been consistent, I just think that they're a better roster overall. So I'm going Dallas -4. I'll take those points.
Definitely like the under there, though, based on the weather. 44.5.
Yeah, I'd be willing to take that under.
2017, 37 points. The under feels good there. Even if it's one more touchdown than that, you're still hitting the under at 44 because you got the hook on there with the half. So
yeah, absolutely. So one thing to kind of talk about there with the Eagles is a little funny thing that happened as Hurts is leaving the game. Some fans are trying to say what's up to him,
man.
Over in Washington, and a barricade was being held up by some zip ties, and those zip ties
surprise
very well, and you just saw some fans tumble into the tunnel. Hurts is actually lucky that he didn't get his leg
smashed because that they came in quite a ways because there were quite a few people there.
Yeah,
that what the hell is the name of that? Is that FedEx Field?
I believe so.
Yeah, so that place is a shithole. Literally, they've already had a pipe burst and shit.
They've had
that
same pipe has burst a couple times this year with duty water going down on people. The field itself has claimed so many players to injury.
Yes.
It is just rough.
They need to do some shit with that stadium. That organization needs a lot of help. I mean, there's no telling how long Snyder's going to continue to be the owner. He's never going to sell it on his own. I don't think the NFL at some point may have to kind of force that. Jeff Bezos can just keep, putting stories out in the Washington Post about all the things that are going on. If we ever find out what happened in those goddamn emails, that may be the end of it there too.
Yeah.
But it was a wild scene. I mean, good guy, Jalen Hurts, kind of like, oh shit, are you guys all right? Hey, let's take some fucking pictures. And so good on Jalen for that. And yeah, it was a weird situation. I'm not sure Jalen's playing in this game though. And because I was talking with Goose about this.
Facebook user says, I wasn't shocked when that rail broke. Well, the rail was fine.
Yeah.
The zip ties holding it up weren't.
No, yeah. So I'm not surprised that it broke at all. If somebody says something happened with FedEx Field, I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But even if Jalen isn't playing, because Goose was saying there's a chance that Jalen won't play because he's a little dinged up. I mean, you give me Gardner Minshew again. Gardner Minshew in a late season game with a chance to send the team to the playoffs. Kid with some moxie who thinks he deserves to be a starter in this league. I think that sets up really nice for Philly as well.
Yeah, it's I would be more stoked to watch this game if Gardner was playing. That's just me.
Yeah,
I'm a big Gardner fan.
We love Gardner Minshew on the show.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So next we can roll into our Sunday games.
All right.
So we got a couple early games that we'll skip over or come back to because those are the Browns and the Vikings games. We'll go straight into the Packers and the Lions. This game is being played at Ford Field in Michigan. The line is Green Bay -3, and I believe that's probably because the expectations that the Packers are going to sit some people.
So I think the Packers are going to sit some people, but ESPN is reporting that Rodgers is going to play in this game. With Rodgers in this game, I like the Packers -3. I don't know how long Rodgers is going to play in this game, though. The Lions play everybody very close. They're very fucking scrappy. The Packers are hitting their stride. It's time to rest some guys. So this could be a close game, but I still think the Packers are good enough, even with their backups, to beat this Lions team. The Lions are not going to give up. This, I think it'll be within a touchdown. I could see this as a 3-point game. So I'm gonna take the Packers, and I could see a push happening there, -3. If they give me 4, I would absolutely love it.
Yeah, if Rodgers is playing, I'm honestly surprised that the line is this close. Now, like you said, how long is he really going to play for? I don't know.
I don't know.
Look, the Lions are a scrappy team. Dan Campbell has those guys fighting. Amon-Ra St. Brown has just absolutely come on at the second half of the season.
So much better than I thought he was.
Yeah, I mean, I know that he's a good player, but like,
I mean, so
we didn't expect him to be
anything
more than a number 2.
I think he's a 2,
but
but
he's performing on this team like,
a 1. So he's getting number 1 targets.
Yeah.
And he's taking those opportunities and looking like a number 1 guy. Not a top tier number 1 guy, but Abby, I gotta disagree with you here. But that's because I'm betting. I don't dislike the Lions, even though I'm an Ohio guy and they're from, Michigan. I like Dan Campbell. But, I mean, talking about trying to make some money here. So I understand why you want the Lions. I'm just on the Packers.
I mean, I want the Lions to win too. I don't think it's going to happen. But I do think this game could be closer. I don't know about -3 unless it is the backups going. I don't really have a whole lot of faith in Jordan Love.
I mean, Jordan Love, I guess, kind of held his own. If he plays if the Packers get up, by 10, I think he can hold his own in the second half. He's not going to win, but I mean, they got some good running backs. I don't think we'll see Aaron Jones at all. We'll probably see Dylan to start the game, and then backup that we saw at the end of the last game. Their receivers, I mean, they have a bunch of, in my opinion, 2s and 3s already outside of Devontae. So we'll probably see some Lazard. We'll see some MVS. Some of those other kids that I did not even know on the other night.
Equinemius St. Brown.
Oh yeah, Equinemius obviously is going to be in there as well. So those guys I think will play the majority of the game. Maybe Lazard will come out because he's kind of becoming their clear number 2 guy. But we'll see MVS. We'll see St. Brown. Those guys.
I think what's more interesting though in general is talk about some of this Packers stuff. So revolving around Aaron Rodgers in particular, there's a couple. This is
one of the storylines I want to talk about.
So one of them is there's a reporter. I don't remember for
Hold
who.
on, I'm gonna fucking get his name because I couldn't believe that this guy's dumb enough to say what he said. He does have
votes for the MVP because that's how the MVP voting works. Is that it is like news media agencies, particularly beat writers, they all get together and they vote for who the MVP is. Mm-hmm. He's come out and said, I'm not voting for Aaron Rodgers for MVP because he's a big jerk.
Yeah.
All right. I don't disagree. I think he's a jerk.
He is an asshole, but you know what? Aaron Rodgers is my kind of asshole. He's not your kind of asshole, obviously, because he plays
in different situations. He might be if it was a different person or whatever. Like I can get behind kind of what he's doing, but look, if you're talking about the most valuable player who's playing on the field, like
it's Aaron Rodgers.
There's an argument to be made. But not voting for a guy because you don't like his personality or you don't like his political leanings or you don't like his vaccination status.
That's where
it's going. No, that's 100% it.
And we talked about this before. Like Aaron Rodgers is probably not going to win an MVP because there will be people who won't vote for him based on some of the things that happened. Now that's not going to happen. So the guy's name, Hub Arkush, writes for the Associated Press, I believe. It's big time. Big J journalist. This guy is a fucking legit journalist and came out and said that I have a vote and I'm not going to vote for him. Like that is a wild thing to do. Like, I don't know that should be allowed. And this is not a popularity contest. This is who is the best player on the field all throughout the year. My son was asking me this morning about, top receivers all time. And he's talking about, is Julio Jones one of the top guys all time? What about Devontae? for me, I'd say Julio is higher up on that list than Devontae. I think Devontae has had better seasons, but this is not.
I think Devontae's a better receiver overall, but we haven't seen it
Exactly.
as long as we have.
This is not a career thing. This is not an off the field thing. This award is very specific for this season, how valuable you are to your team. And Aaron is at least top. He is a jerk. He absolutely is. And I don't disagree. But he's still the fucking MVP. If I had a vote, he'd get my vote. Number 2, I would put Jonathan Taylor. And number 3, I would put Tom Brady.
I think I'm still going Jonathan Taylor just because I like when non-quarterbacks get the award.
He's not going to get it because this has basically become a quarterback award.
It has become a quarterback award, but I think that Jonathan Taylor not playing for the Colts actually, the Colts are not the same team if he's not playing. Now, the same obviously can be said about Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. I think that he is their whole offense.
He is that team. Like we have seen what happens when Aaron's not on the field.
But when it's I just like non-quarterbacks getting a quarterback award.
Right.
I always like that.
Yeah. So I mean, Jonathan Taylor is number 2 on my list. I would put Tom Brady at 3, and then Cooper Kupp would probably be 4. But outside of those guys, those are the only 4 people I'm putting in this conversation, and I think Aaron has shown his value above others.
Yep.
In my opinion. And I love that comment by Joe Rockstar
absolutely.
there.
You can't have a name like Amon-Ra and not play like an Egyptian god. Texas speech makes me look real stupid.
I mean, I knew what you were going for, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. But either way, it sounds like this reporter is trying to inject non-football stuff into a football award. Shame on that guy. He can go fuck himself as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree. And you fucking hate Aaron. You're telling this guy to go fuck himself.
Yeah, look, I don't like politics in my football.
No,
I don't.
I don't.
I think it's pretty fucking stupid for this guy. Realistically, it's actually probably a good thing that this guy comes out and says this because you know what? It just discredits him in having anything to do with sports. Because he doesn't give a fuck about sports if that's how he's going to
Yeah, he basically just wrote his own death warrant for anybody taking his takes in sports seriously again. Because if he just doesn't like you, he will say or do whatever.
Yeah.
It's suicide. It's career fucking suicide if you're a sports writer. I don't understand it.
You're going to get jacked off a little bit by your political leaning fans or something like that. But at the end of the day, you're an AP reporter. People don't really give a shit about the reporters. They don't. No. They're going to care about the football player.
Yeah.
And it's whatever. It's only a story because it's such a fucking joke. But other story that has kind of come out about Aaron Rodgers, and I don't give a ton of credibility to this yet. Really interesting. But Boomer Esiason came out and said that he's gotten word from a reputable source that if the Packers were to make it to the Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers is considering boycotting it.
Yeah.
Sitting out the Super Bowl in protest to some of the COVID protocol stuff, trying to get some of the COVID protocol things lifted in the NFL. I don't see this happening. I could absolutely see Aaron maybe making a point about his feelings on these things. He will be on a big stage, big platform if they were to make it to the Super Bowl. And he might speak way more openly about this stuff because he just doesn't give a fuck if people get upset at him. I think he might try to utilize that platform, but if they were to make it to the Super Bowl, I see no way that Aaron Rodgers doesn't play in it. He, supposedly according to this report, he's told Jordan Love, "Hey, get ready," and things like that. You need to be prepared to play and whatnot. I just I don't see a player sitting out of the biggest game in the season.
No, especially when this cements his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And we literally just talked about this. I fucking hate politics in my sports. And now here we are on the opposite end of it. Aaron going into his politics on, well, I'm going to sit out of the Super Bowl because of the COVID protocols and the way the headline read, I thought it was very weird.
So Facebook user is a clear front runner for the MVP? Yes. Most likely, yes.
By most media outlets, yes. I think there's a lot of fans who are pushing for Tom.
Yeah.
There's a contingent in Indy that says it's Jonathan Taylor.
For
Outside
sure.
of Indy, I don't know that he's getting a ton of traction because he's a running back.
Yeah.
Same thing in LA for Cooper Kupp. I think most national media is saying that Aaron is the guy, should be the front runner. Obviously, Tom's always going to be in that fucking conversation.
Yeah, MVP is the dumb award if it's less a journalist. This is
agreed.
Yeah.
This should be voted on by the fucking players.
Yeah. But even then, that kind of becomes a popularity contest. I mean, you see the NFL Top 100 that's voted on by the players, and you see guys that get in there that shouldn't have anything to do with it. It becomes a little bit of a popularity contest. But normally towards the top end, they're going to get those guys right. Even the players will.
So this is more politics. Aaron, if you make it to the fucking Super Bowl and you don't play in the fucking Super Bowl because of COVID, that is, I understand standing on your principles. I 100% get it. And I am good with a player not budging on their principles, kind of like he did before with not getting the vax. I'm vaccinated. You're vaccinated. I don't care what your vaccination status is. He made a decision. He stood on his principles, and he stuck by that. That's something that I can agree with, and I understand standing by your principles. But this is the chance to basically, if he wins this Super Bowl with all the shit that's gone on, I don't think there's any debate. Aaron Rodgers is a top 3 quarterback of all time. I mean, he has 2 Super Bowls. Should have fucking 4 MVPs. I mean, the stats back up everything he's ever done in his career. I mean, and he's broken Brett Favre's record, who is a Hall of Famer, considered one of the best of all time. And he did it in less seasons, less games, because Aaron had to sit behind Brett. He has got to, if they make it, he's got to play.
Yeah. And to be as specific as I can about the report, it's that he's going to threaten to boycott it. I don't think he actually will. Even if he were to threaten it, I don't think he will sit out. And also, now that this is out, I don't think Aaron would actually even threaten to boycott. It kind of takes away some of the impact of what that would try to be, you know, that sort of statement for him. Which it's kind of surprising to me that it's kind of surprising that Boomer Esiason even broke it. I mean, I'm sure he's trying to, you know, boost himself as far as reporting.
Boomer is a guy he's already on national TV. Yeah.
It's just to maybe get a little bit more clout as far as a non-football player at this point, as a, you know, a reporter almost.
I mean, but Boomer's not a reporter.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that he wants to do. But I don't like football players who are trying to be reporters. I want football players to be football players. They're something that you are fantastic at. Like, going into the booth is great, but be a color guy. Don't be the play-by-play. That's more suited. Yeah.
Goose is dumb.
Yeah. I was very happy that popped up too. Where the fuck was I? I forget.
That Boomer just needs to focus on
Boomer,
being a color guy.
Be who you are. Be the former quarterback. Be the sports guy. And I mean, unless somebody has asked Boomer to leak this information, I don't think that there's a reason that it should come out.
I don't even know why he would, even if he was asked to be completely honest. I feel like Boomer probably could have just kept this in his back pocket or something like that and be like, if this were to happen, he could come out later and be like, look, I got texts about this a while ago. I didn't want to make it about this, so I just didn't tell anybody. But yeah, we knew this was possibility of going to happen or something like that. I could respect that a lot more. Not that, I mean, I don't want to come out completely and say I disrespect Boomer for saying it, but I just wish he wouldn't have.
I think it's a weird thing that he would come out with that, because we see all these former athletes on TV all the time, and they're fantastic at what they do because they talk about the game. They don't necessarily report on stories for the most part. And I mean, if they have a journalism degree or they're pursuing one and that's what they want to do, then cool. But people are like, one of my favorite guys is Marcus Spears.
Mm-hmm.
Love him. He doesn't act like a reporter. He acts like a guy who was in the NFL and knows the fucking game.
Joe Rockstar saying that Rodgers better make his big statement in the NFC Championship game against the Niners because we'll kill the Packers in the playoff games. So I don't believe the Niners are in yet, Joe.
Well, they're not in yet.
But if someone's going to beat the Packers, it typically happens to be the 49ers in the playoffs. They do happen to fuck them up. Text to speech makes him look like a homer. Okay, that's what it is. We also have some agreement here on Marcus Spears,
I love
Facebook
Marcus
user.
Spears, man.
And
Torres is here.
Hey, what's up, buddy? But either way, we didn't need to. I wanted to talk about this whole thing with Aaron Rodgers, those two stories in particular, just in case he does make some sort of a statement. I'm sure that he'll make his whatever statements that he wants to be known if they were to make it to the Super Bowl. Again, there's that whole week leading up of press and stuff like that, and Aaron's going to get hounded about all that information. I'm sure he'll say whatever he wants to say during that time, and I don't think that there's any chance that he sits out the Super Bowl if they were to make it there. And then, of course, like we talked about the MVP voting, that report is kind of a fucking idiot.
Yeah, that guy sucks.
Either way, Packers, Lions. Line is Green Bay -3 according to Caesars right now. On
I got Green Bay and I got a -3.
Yeah, we both got Green Bay on this one.
Are you there on the -3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think it could absolutely be more than that. Next game is Washington and the Giants being played at home for New York. The line is Washington -7, over and under 37.5. So, yeah, Washington should win this game. 7 points. I think that they should be able to cover that.
Yep.
The Giants are an absolute dumpster fire. They've said that they're going to keep on Joe Judge, but it sounds like Gettleman is going to retire after this game.
Yeah.
And then if a new GM comes in, then
Danny Dimes is done.
I mean,
he'll be back on his 5th-year option.
Look, Judge should be gone. Danny Dimes, that experiment should be over.
It's not his 5th-year option, is it?
I don't think so.
So he's going to year 4, so he's going to be back.
But like they need to move on from Danny Dimes. They need to move on from Joe Judge.
Mm-hmm.
Gettleman's leaving, even though they said that they're going to keep Joe Judge. I think if you bring a new GM in, they have enough pull, enough sway with the organization that they could still possibly make that happen. Which means that the Giants are going to have to move fast on a new GM and potential coaching hire if they wanted to go that route.
Well, there's a GM on the market, former Browns GM, who may retain a guy in Freddie Kitchens.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that Dorsey's going to get a shot, but I mean, I could see it. He's had multiple shots in the past.
It's possible. But one interesting thing with the Giants here is that they actually talked to Kyle Rudolph, their tight end, who was a Vikings tight end up until this year.
Mm-hmm.
Rudolph has come out and said that he thinks that Danny Dimes is the most talented quarterback he's ever played with, which I just think is silly.
Sad.
It's an indictment against Kirk Cousins, indictment against Sam Bradford, Teddy Bridgewater, all these guys that had, for all intents and purposes, Kyle's had good relations with.
Mm-hmm.
I get boosting up your guy, your quarterback there, but also it just doesn't pass the eye test. He could have just not said anything about the quarterbacks because look, it's just not true.
I mean, unless he's specifically asked, what is your opinion on Daniel Dimes?
I mean, you can continue to give your quarterback support, but you don't have to say that he's the most talented quarterback that you've ever played with. Because I just don't think that's true. I don't think anyone look that if that's the case, then I don't think Kyle Rudolph's getting an NFL scouting or evaluation job in the future.
No, probably not.
If you wanted that, look, the Giants are just kind of a dumpster fire team. They're really bad. They need to implode, rebuild, and start over. On the other hand, you have the Washington football team. They have some pieces that will be good for their future. We thought that their defense was going to be a lot better this year. And
they are banged up.
But they are prepared to basically start anew if they were to get able to get a new owner and then get some money funneled into that stadium from someone like a Bezos. If they were to buy the team, that would help them out a lot. But we saw released by the Washington football team this past week that they are going to be revealing their new name on February 2nd, I believe.
And there was a leak.
They released a video. And people have picked apart this thing. There's a bunch of information out there.
I don't know if we can show it on there.
So I sent you earlier in the week one of those pictures. That's actually a picture, and I'll walk that back. That's a picture from the video.
Okay.
It was a very, very quick snippet where they're showing things about the uniform and whatnot, but they have a lot of it blurred out. People think that they have it narrowed down now to the Washington Commanders.
Oh wow, that's not what I thought the Red Tails was going to be.
People saw it looks like an order sheet, a piece of paper that has an order sheet for T-shirts with a new W logo that goes on it, which not a bad looking logo. It's nothing special. There's going to be a lot of jokes made about it looking like a Wonder Woman logo and things like that. The uniform shows stars on it, which kind of has that military general type of feel. But on that order sheet, it actually said Washington Commanders on it. And the Washington Commanders URL, I guess, went away, like was purchased or something like that recently. So there's still like 6 team names that they said are the options. They haven't announced which one yet, but there, and we won't know for sure unless there's some other big leaks until the 2nd. But it sounds like that is a strong possibility that Washington Commanders could be your new football team name. And I'm not completely against it.
Yeah.
I will say this. Some of their uniform design things look pretty cool. So the NFL is going to continue to allow 2 helmet options for teams. And one of them that they have is a complete blackout. It's a matte black helmet. It looks like they got black uniforms and stuff to go along with that, which would be pretty cool. But they're getting ready to start a new generation there or whatever. I think that Snyder needs to go to help that along.
Yeah.
And Abby, Giants do need a new overhaul.
Yeah, they need to start
big
fresh.
Time. Let's see here. Facebook user, which coach do you see going to the Giants if they get rid of Judge? That's tough.
Who wants that job? Is that an appealing job?
It's one of the least appealing jobs. You don't have a good quarterback in place there, which is one of the biggest hurdles. I think you're going to be having to go after a coordinator who's trying, one of the lesser talked about coordinators probably, or someone from the college ranks that would be willing to take that job right now.
I mean, if you're a Dayball, you're not leaving Buffalo for that job. If you're Bieniemy, you're not leaving Kansas City for that job. I don't see Leftwich going there.
Carolina is terrible.
You
could see a defensive guy go there, I suppose. It's one thing I want to talk about with the head coaching searches, and something that I'm becoming more and more convinced that you either want or that a offensive head coach is usually the best bet for a team, especially if you're developing a quarterback, because if you go out there and you get a defensive head coach, then obviously you're going to bring in an offensive coordinator. And if you start to see any success from that offensive coordinator, that coordinator is going away. He's getting poached.
Yeah.
And that means that you have turnover with your offensive playbook. You have turnover with developing a younger quarterback and stuff. So if you have any plans of rebuilding an offense with young offensive talent, i.e. at the quarterback position, you kind of need to go with an offensive head coach. Right. So that way you can have that same system remain with your team.
It's the head coach's system, and the offensive coordinator just implements it.
Yeah. Giants O-line has been terrible. Got some goose comments here. They should use Joe Biden as their logo.
Nope, not touching that comment.
Not that's doing fun. Just this Washington sleepy guys.
Nope, not doing it.
And then, does Doug Peterson get a head coach job this year? I think it is very possible. I think he could get the Vikings job.
Yeah,
I'm not a Peterson fan.
That was one of the names that I thought was going to be tied to the Jacksonville job.
Possibly, yeah. He definitely
young quarterback, and he has shown that.
The thing with good. Peterson, I didn't like Peterson with the Eagles, but I understand why it might be all right. Peterson did not get along with ownership, and specifically the GM, Howie Roseman there in the Eagles. And who the fuck would?
Yeah, fuck Roseman.
And so in that respect, I get why Peterson would not be happy with things there and why he would kind of be pushed out, because he's fighting the system. It seems like Howie Roseman, is loved by ownership for some reason there, and that's hurting the Eagles big time.
Yeah.
Because of that, I think maybe Doug Peterson has a little bit more of a leg to stand on. Maybe he's not as bad of a coach as I'm trying to say that he was. I I've got him on my list of potential head coaches for the Vikings that I would be okay with. Yeah, he's a retread as far as an NFL head coach, but he was able to make it to the big game.
Won it.
Yeah,
Won a Super Bowl.
And he's
I think it was just the relationship that deteriorated inside the building between head coach, GM, and quarterback.
Yeah. So I think it's a possible option that Peterson gets a head coaching job. I think that there's like 3 or 4 spots that he could go to, Jags being one of them. We got Vasquez here agreeing on that. He thinks that Peterson to the Jaguars is definitely a possibility. We also have Joe Rockstar here saying Washington Mandators sounds accurate. Washington Masturbators as well. That's less acceptable. I don't think that one's going to pass in the NFL.
I think it's the Masturbators would go over better than their last nickname, but still not going to happen. So, all right, let's get back onto that Washington game. That's the one we were on, right? I'm not fucking crazy here.
Yeah. And then we have Eric Dunlap saying, Abby, tomorrow the Bills take the East.
So Eric Dunlap, another guy that was in that big play stuff, and then also part of the fantasy football stuff I was doing. I did win both of the podcast leagues in fantasy football. I was super fucking pumped about getting 2 dubs against the other podcasters out there.
It's apparently Abby's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Abby.
Happy birthday. But we will be getting into that Bills game here shortly, for sure. But with this Washington and Giants game, Washington should win this game.
I'm on Washington for sure. I think they're a better team. Heineke played much better. When he is not under constant duress, he is pretty good when he can operate from the pocket. And he's a guy that has got a little bit of moxie and get out and can do some things. I got Washington, and I got them covering on the -7.
Same. All right, next game, we got the Colts and the Jaguars being played in Jacksonville. The line is Indy -15, according to Caesars here on ESPN, over under at 44. Colts should absolutely win this game. Jaguars, just, I don't know what else to say. They are that team in flux again. Torres, we are covering the Colts. We are covering the
right
Colts.
now.
We'll talk about the playoffs. Answers correctly, you're going to get a call forcing you to drink.
So that's going to be
not lean to terrorist threats.
No, we do not negotiate with terrorists here. But we are talking about the Colts right now. There we go. We're about 10 seconds behind.
Yep. So the Colts absolutely should win this game. That's a big spread.
Yeah.
They absolutely could, meet
they're
that spread.
They're going to.
The Colts have to win this game to make sure that they're in.
Yep.
So, which is a little surprising, that they still have to win another game to make sure that they're in. But I don't see any way that the Colts don't win this game because they have something on the line. Look, obviously there's a lot of teams out there that are going to want to play spoiler, but I just don't see the Jags as being a team that can play spoiler. To be completely honest, they don't have the talent to
not at all
to beat the Colts right now.
I mean, I said it last week. When they had the Patriots, over under was 42. The spread was like, I think 16.5. It's like, well, the Patriots are going to win. They're going to cover, and the Patriots could cover the over by themselves. And they fucking did. They won 50-10. This Jags team is so fucking bad. The Colts are going to win. They're going to smash the Jags, and they could probably hit the fucking over by themselves. I think they could hit 44 points. I am on the Colts, and I am on the cover, even though it is a massive point spread.
Yeah, I'm just going to take the Colts outright on this one. I don't want to touch the 15-point spread, even though that should absolutely be attainable. But Colts win this one all day. Now, as far as the playoff run that Torres wanted to bring up, look, I've said this, for the past, I feel like 6 to 8 weeks now. Colts are a serious contender.
Yeah.
If Wentz is able to stay healthy and everything, they're a serious contender. We
need Wentz to play a little bit better than he's been playing.
Yeah. As long as they're able to run the ball, though, with Taylor, I feel like that takes a lot of that pressure off of Wentz. They have a chance to make a serious run in the AFC. They're a very, very good team. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see them in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, I could see that too. I mean, defense and running the ball wins in the playoffs. And that's what that team does. If Carson can step his game up a little bit, I think they can make a run.
When you have a good running game like that, that gives you that flexibility. If you go into an outdoor stadium where it's cold, they still have that flexibility to maintain their power on offense. Whereas if you have a purely passing team, one more like the Chiefs, going into bad situations, bad weather games and stuff like that, it's going to possibly severely limit you. You know, if you get into a situation like where we saw New England and the Bills playing, where, you know, there's very little passing because it's so goddamn windy and everything, the weather's affecting you, that really hurts a team like the Chiefs. It helps a team like the Colts.
Yeah.
So that's where the running game really comes into play, especially late in the year where you have to worry about weather. There we go. Good answer. I may still call you just to make you drink. Well,
listen, Torres, I got a lot of shit to do today, man. I don't know if you caught the beginning of the show. I got to do this podcast. I had to go put in some hardwood floors because I ripped out all the tile yesterday. I am sore as fuck, by the way. Then I'm going to a hockey game tonight with my sister. Her birthday was last week. Mine is next week, so we're doing that together. Little birthday thing for us. So, and I got to drive up to Tucson. So I don't know how many beers or shots I could be taking today.
Hey, the beers actually were relatively cheap last time I was up there. So you might be able to get a couple down.
I also got to drive back.
Yeah.
Have a couple in the first period, maybe one in the second, not drink in the third period. No,
maybe a couple glizzies.
Also, by the way, do not drink and drive.
Absolutely.
Let's
toss
that out there.
For sure. All right, next game, Steelers and Ravens. This game's being played in Baltimore. The line is Baltimore -3.5, over under 41. Baltimore should win this game. I think Big Ben gave it his last little hoorah last game. With this last game being played in Pittsburgh, because you know he's absolutely retiring.
Yeah, for sure. He's done.
Ravens should be able to win this game. Realistically, they should be able to beat them by more than 3.5. But the Ravens are kind of, just falling off at the end of the year. I don't really have a ton more to say about this. The Steelers don't impress me.
No,
I'm surprised that they were actually able to get the win last week.
No, yeah, I was too. That's why I got drunk.
And but the Ravens should be able to win. They should be able to cover this 3.5.
So I'm actually on the Steelers here, though. Lamar Jackson's out again. Not Lamar Huntley. Jesus Christ.
Tyler Huntley.
Tyler, not Garrett, is going to be starting this game. This game still matters. I mean, both these teams need help, but either one of them can get in the playoffs at this point. I think the Steelers can come out. They will put pressure on that Baltimore offense. We've seen pressure kills that offense. They have a very good defense, and I think the Steelers can win. I don't know that I'm going to pick them to win, but I am going to take them to cover the 3.5. I think this is a 3-point game. So I'm going Steelers plus 3.5.
Very well could be. Just had a comment from Joe Rockstar. What is there to do at a hockey game? Sounds awful. Well, Joe, if you haven't been to a hockey game, I highly suggest that you go. Even if it is just the Tucson Roadrunners, that's lower division team for the Coyotes. Yep. They're a lot of fun. And relatively inexpensive to go to, especially the Roadrunners games.
Yeah. We got tickets for free, so I'm super pumped about that.
It's as far as live sporting events go, it's probably in my top 2-3 things to do is to go watch a hockey game.
Yeah, watching live hockey is awesome. I'm not a big hockey guy on TV, but seeing a hockey game in person, it's fucking awesome. It's so much fun.
Yep, absolutely. All right, next game, we got the Titans and the Texans being played in Houston, and the line is Tennessee -10.5, over under 42. Well, with how scrappy the Texans have been, this game could be a little bit closer. Yes, the Titans should be able to win this game, and I have the Titans winning. I'm not taking the 10.5 just because of the way that the Texans have played some scrappy ball, especially here at the end of the year. That's 10.5, 2 scores. Yeah, the Titans should be able to cover that. But again, the Texans have just kind of played weird, scrappy ball. Like I fully expected them to be bottom 3 of the league, which I mean they generally still are.
Yeah.
But some of these games that they've held out close with some very good competition has been surprising, especially later in the year. The Texans team is the type of team that can play spoiler. The Jags aren't. Texans team is one that can play spoiler. And you're seeing good play out of Davis Mills and stuff like that.
Davis Mills has been pretty good. The Texans could play spoiler. I don't think they will. I actually think the Titans come in and they put a stamp on that number 1 seed. I think they can cover. I think they will cover this 10. Tennessee's been playing really good ball. I mean, obviously they're the number 1 seed in the AFC.
And you just had Derrick Henry activated.
And I don't think he's playing in this game.
No, I doubt it.
He's going to come back. Obviously he's rested. He's going to work back into the system. He's going to have another bye week to get acclimated if they win this game, like I think they will. And then we should see Derrick Henry for a massive playoff run by this Titans team.
Yep. And you have Eric asking, how far do you think the Titans go in the playoffs without Henry?
So I don't think they're going to be without Henry because he was just activated. I think that if they lock up this number 1 seed, then he gets that extra week of rest. We see him in the divisional game. And I think they can fucking steamroll some teams with Derrick Henry. Now, if for some reason the Texans do play spoiler here and they don't have Derrick Henry next week, I think they could get bounced in the first round. Derrick Henry will make or break how far this Titans team goes in the playoff. If he is back and they lock up this number 1 seed, I think they can make a run at the AFC Championship game, possibly even win it against Kansas City.
I think the AFC Championship game that's kind of their North Star, even with Derrick Henry. I think Tannehill just isn't it. Now, the thing with Henry is that injury was a broken bone in the outside of his foot. That's where he's doing a lot of his planting and cutting, is putting pressure on the outside of that foot. He's coming. Look, if they weren't going to make the playoffs, I don't think there's any reason to activate him. Because they're making the playoffs, they're going to activate him. Is he going to be 100%? No, I don't think so. Even with the rest and everything that he got, I think that they still will run him hard, and I think that he will play through this injury. But he's going to have to be very much so a north and south guy. He's going to have to be. He's not a decoy by any means.
No,
but teams are going to have to pay him respect, and that's going to give Tannehill a little bit more options as far as spreading the ball around. Now that they got AJ Brown back, that's going to help out tremendously as well. But I don't think that he's going to be as dominant as he was by any means earlier on in the year. I mean, he's still the 6th leading rusher, and he's been out for weeks.
Yeah.
You have to pay Henry respect. That's going to help him out tremendously, but I don't think he'll be 100%. I think he'll make an impact, just not as big of an impact as a healthy Derrick Henry would.
Okay.
I think that if Henry is playing above expectation, above what I'm even thinking here, then yeah, AFC Championship game is definitely within the realm of possibility. But my gut tells me that he'll be out there and he'll be, racking up some yards and stuff like that and taking some attention. But I think that might get them to the AFC Championship game. I'm not betting on them actually making it there, though.
Okay.
All right. So for me, I'm taking the Titans. I'm not taking the 10.5 though on this one. And I believe you're taking Titans as well.
I got Titans, and on FanDuel, they're -10 right now. I am going to take the -10.
All righty. Next game, Saints and Falcons. Saints technically could make it in, I believe, still.
I'm not sure if they're still in the. Hold on, let me look it up real quick.
I'm pretty sure they are outside looking in, but that they could have things fall their way this weekend and still kind of trip themselves into the playoffs. Falcons are 7-9. So they've outperformed my expectation for that team this season. Right now, the line is New Orleans -3.5. If New Orleans has something to play for, that means that they're going to play harder. It's over under 40. I almost feel like the Falcons are going to win this one. I'm actually going to take the Falcons with the points. Falcons +3.5 on this one. Look, the Saints might be able to make it into the playoffs, but I don't see them as being a playoff team.
So Saints at 8-8. So the only team that looks like they're in that's not currently locked is the 49ers, 9-7. So we got Cowboys, Eagles, Rams, Cardinals all in, Packers in, Buccaneers in, and there's one spot left. Saints at 8-8. They are still technically in, and the 49ers, the other
Eric,
team.
You're saying Saints need a win and a San Francisco loss in order to make it. And Joe Rockstar as well. Falcons Saints has a huge impact on the Niners Rams.
Yeah. So they do have a chance. I'm not on the Saints, man. I can't do it. I think the Falcons can win this game. I am not going to put them on the money line. I'm definitely taking the Falcons plus 3.5 though.
That's where I'm at as well.
Saints could win this game. I got a feeling about the Falcons this weekend, man. They're a little bit better than I thought they were, but
I definitely think they've outperformed what I expected from them in the beginning of the year. To be 7-9 at this point is pretty great for that team.
Well, and they're a weird 7-9, like so they're right there on the cusp of being pretty good. They've scored 293 points and they've given up 429. That defense is terrible, but somehow they've won 7 games. So I mean, yeah, I think they could knock off the Saints this weekend for sure.
Yep. All right. Next game, we have the Jets and the Bills being played in Buffalo. It is a line of Bills minus 16 over under 40.5.
Go ahead, do your thing, and then I'll...
Yeah, I got the Bills all day. This should be an easy one. The fact that the Jets were able to stay in that game last week, very surprising. I think there's a hangover from that though, because they kind of gave it their all there. I don't know that they got anything to be able to compete with the Bills at this point. 16 again. I hate large spreads like this.
Mm-hmm.
I do see this being a 2-score game at least. If this line was closer to 13-14, then I'd probably be taking the Bills minus the points. I'm just going to take the Bills money line in this one. That seems like an easy lock for me that the Bills are going to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, they're minus 1,200 on the money line. There's no chance. The Jets got no chance in this fucking game. That hangover from losing that game last week and the poor decision-making by their young quarterback is absolutely going to loom large. That's a game that they should have probably won. They at least take it to overtime there if they kick the fucking field goal. The Bills are going to come out and smack the shit out of the Jets, I think. I got the Bills covering minus 16.5. Pitts is not going to win the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Pitts has had a phenomenal rookie season.
Absolutely.
He beat Jeremy Shockey's receiving yard for a rookie tight end. Pitts is looking great.
Pitts is fantastic.
But I don't know that he wins Rookie of the Year. Jamar Chase, I think, is better. I think you've got Micah Parsons, honestly, should be the defensive Rookie of the Year. But I could see Micah Parsons being the Rookie of the Year as well.
I mean,
I think it's between him and Chase.
Well, it's Jamar Chase if we're talking about offensive Rookie of the Year.
I mean, but not just offensive, but this is just purely Rookie of the Year.
If you were picking a single rookie, I'd probably go Parsons over Jamar Chase.
I think it's very, very close for me there.
I mean, but Jamar Chase is going to win offensive rookie. I just said his goddamn name and I brain farted.
Parsons, Jamar Chase.
Yeah, Michael Parsons is going to win defensive Rookie of the Year. I think those are pretty much foregone conclusions. I like the things that I see out of Pitts. He's so fucking good. You don't normally see rookie tight ends come in and do that kind of shit. He's been fantastic. Jamar Chase is putting up ungodly numbers and fucking had a day against that Kansas City team last week. So, I think that kind of locked up the offensive Rookie of the Year for him.
And Eric's got the Bills winning, but not covering. It is a large cover.
It is a very large cover.
And then Abby here hoping for a miracle upset.
I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Not a chance in hell, in my opinion. I mean, they had their chance last week to get an upset. Then
I just don't vote on the Jets to do much of anything. I'm not going to put my money on it.
No, definitely not. I got Bills and I got the cover minus 16.5.
All righty. Next we have the 49ers and the Rams. So this is obviously a huge game. Rams are in. 49ers are very possibly getting into the playoffs here. This is a very big game for the 49ers. Something that I know that Joe Rockstar is going to be watching very closely. The line right now is Rams minus 4.5 over under a 44.5. I'm not sure if the Rams are sitting anybody, but look, this is a huge game for the Niners, and I don't know if they can do it.
Who's playing quarterback? That's the question, because they have not said who is playing yet. Shanahan is being very coy. This is the ESPN headline about who is playing quarterback ahead of their pivotal 49er game. either way, I'm on the 49ers to cover the 4.5. I don't know if they'll win, but I think they will cover. The Rams have not been nearly as good this late in the year. Matthew Stafford.
Well, the past 2 games, Stafford has not looked good.
Has looked terrible. 49ers play really good defense. I'm definitely on the 49ers to cover. They can win this game. I don't know who they're playing at quarterback, though. That's why I'm not going to just take the outright money line there. Man.
I mean, Garoppolo's been listed as questionable. He's still splitting time with Trey Lance at practice this week.
Trey Lance did nothing to impress me, to make me think he can go out and win a game. But
Eric is rooting the Finns upset your abs. Oh boy. She said no. And then Eric also is saying here that Trey Lance is the best or be the best option. We got it.
Might be. We do have a call.
We'll call. All righty.
Call from Joe Rockstar.
Joe Rockstar.
Press 1 to send a voicemail.
That's what I was hoping for. We need some Joe Rockstar takes here on this 49ers Rams game.
Joe, you are on with the Lineman Lounge. How you doing, big guy?
Hey guys, I wasn't gonna let this go without calling it.
Oh yeah, I figured that once we got to this 49ers talk, we were gonna get a call from you.
Okay, so we got to talk about a few things here. Number one, this game is huge for both teams because Rams got to win if they want to hang on to number 2.
Yeah.
So if Arizona wins and they lose, Arizona's number 2. So they're going to play their guys.
So they want that home field advantage for sure.
All right. Number 2, the Niners quarterback, I don't think is going to be the big story here. Mullins beat them last year. Doesn't matter who you throw in at quarterback. Shanahan's got McVay's number.
Okay. All right. I like where you're going.
I think the big factor in our game is going to be whether we get our COVID reserve guys. Our entire secondary is on COVID reserve, all of them.
And that's
except for Jaquiski Tart. Sorry.
Yeah, Jaquiski. And that's a big problem against that Rams wide receiver group, who's playing very well.
So far, K'Wan Williams has done a great job against Cooper Kupp every time. Aaron Donald, for some reason, can't play against the Niners. He's no factor in our game. Speaking of which, how does he talk shit about not knowing who Deebo Samuel is and expect to survive this game alive? Just kidding.
I have massive respect for Deebo. Deebo is showing he is one of the most versatile players in the NFL and is looking at probably an all-pro season.
Yeah, Aaron's acting like, I don't know who that guy is. And now I guess Deebo in the press conferences is, I don't even want to talk to that guy. So there's some beef there. I think these guys are going to go out there and kill each other.
Yeah, this is one of the games that I'm most excited to watch, honestly, this weekend, just because of the playoff implications and because, I mean, the Niners look like, if we're going purely on paper, the Rams are better than the Niners, but the Niners can beat the Rams for sure. Especially, we had a comment here, if the Rams play all their starters, they beat the Niners. I mean, I
don't know.
That would be, I still think, a competitive game, even if they play their starters. I would lean towards the Rams winning, but it's still going to be a competitive game. And you guys have so much on the line to play for here that you guys are going to be going all out. So it'll be real interesting to see. I think the quarterback situation, I know that you said Mullins was able to go out there and win. I still think that's going to make a big impact, though. Because, I mean, Jimmy G.
I think what you're going to see is both, though.
That's what I would like to see.
I think that is probably the best option for that team.
Yeah, you split.
Shanahan's playing Jedi mind tricks, man.
I think you split how much, it's not just Jimmy G or not just Trey Lance out there. I think you situationally put them out there and you keep the defense guessing.
I want to go back to what you said about paper, man. Like, on paper, you're absolutely right, dude. And we see that in a couple of teams this year. I felt really strong about how good Arizona was going to be, and they are, because they've gathered so much talent. It's ridiculous. But that's the thing. Like, I think these teams are, they're putting together a lot of talent, but they're not putting together a football team, a team, and the Niners are a team. Those guys are tight. So I'm hoping that overcomes, individual talent.
I mean, we've seen it all throughout the year. Like, these kind of super teams. We've seen a super team kind of start to fall apart over in the Bucs with a couple injuries. The Arizona Cardinals took a massive step back. They're starting to kind of get back on track now. So I agree. A team wins a game. I do like the Niners. I'd like them to cover. I'm really close to taking them on the money line. It's just the quarterback situation. I know you think it's not going to make a huge difference. I think if Jimmy G can't play at all, it will. If we get a combination of Jimmy G and a Trey Lance, I think that serves that team best, and they could probably go out and get this upset.
And I'm taking.
Oh man, I just feel good about either one. Jimmy G is he's out there throwing darts even with his hand messed up. I've seen the video from practice. It looks good. And Lance is coming along, man. He had a lot of those problems that I talked about the last time we talked about maybe having Lance start, and I was saying, hey, look, he just can't hit the window in time. He bounces around too much when he drops back. He started cleaning that up in the second half of the game, and some of the plays that he missed on earlier because he was late, they ran those same plays again in the second half, and he hit them. So I can see him coming along. So I don't think it really matters. Either one of those quarterbacks is good enough.
I like Lance playing a little bit more just because I think it'll be more exciting. But as far as the total, the game overall, I'm taking the Niners plus the points. I'm real close to it being almost like a push on the money line. Like I'm not sure who to really take in this game, but I am rooting for the 49ers. I'll tell you that much. I'm rooting for them because they happen to be a poison pill for the Packers, and I love the sound of that. I'm not sure that they can go into Lambeau and win, but they just seem to be able to do it every playoff. So I'm about that.
Yeah, man. I think what it is that Aaron Rodgers wanted to be a 49er so bad he can't bring himself to beat us in a playoff game.
Hey, whatever the narrative is, I don't care.
Next season if he wants to.
He can
join Trey Lance.
That's true. All right.
All right, Joe.
That would be a weird thing to see happen.
Yeah, it would be very weird, but I know Aaron would love it. All right, man.
All right, guys. I know you got a lot to get through.
All right,
thanks. Time at the hockey game. I hope they put something on the board that's entertaining, at least.
No, it's minor league hockey. It'll be fun. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate the call.
All right. Thanks.
All righty. Nice to hear from Joe Rockstar there. So I think, sounds like we're both taking the 49ers plus the points here.
Yeah. 49ers plus the points.
Definitely going to be a fun game. But that's one of the games that you want to watch this afternoon, or not this afternoon, Sunday afternoon. It's going to be a good one. It's got, obviously pretty big playoff implications. So, the 49ers are going to be playing their balls off. Next, we've got the Patriots and the Dolphins being played in Miami. Another pretty big game here. New England is favored -6.5 according to Caesars, over under of 40.
Yeah, so
Miami has beaten New England this year.
Miami has beaten New England this year. When is the last time that they won when they swept the Patriots?
I don't remember.
It's been so long, and I don't think they can do it again. I mean, the Patriots are in. They may rest some guys. I just don't see the Dolphins pulling this off. I mean, they're playing better. They're 8-8. Do they technically have a chance? I mean, we got what? 1, 2, 3, 5 guys locked in. I know they're done. They're out. So they're not playing for a playoff spot. We got the Colts, the Raiders, and the Chargers all vying for that last spot there. I don't see them. I don't see them getting it done. Patriots will get this win. I don't know if it'll be a spectacular win.
Yeah, like I said, the over under is 40. I'm taking the under on this one, and then I'll take the Dolphins plus the points. It's 6.5 according to Caesars right now. But look, the Dolphins, like I said, all credit to them for that stretch of 7 games. But they were doing it barely.
Yeah.
They were close games. They were scrappy games. They weren't necessarily impressive as far as like blowouts or anything like that. I think that the way that Tua has played has kind of cemented him as being their quarterback next year. This Deshaun Watson talk, I think, is going to go away because of the way that Tua has played. But they all credit to him for winning the 7 in a row, but it wasn't an impressive 7 in a row necessarily. They're still a middle of the road team versus the Patriots, who, like I said, they might be sitting people, they might not. But even then, I still think the Patriots are a better roster. And I think that the Patriots will get this win. I think it could be closer than that 6.5 point spread that's on Caesars right now, though. So that's why I'm going to take the Dolphins plus the points.
Yeah, so I'm on the Dolphins plus the points as well. I think this game will be fairly close. I'm not sure who the Pats are resting. I'm not sure if Bill Belichick really goes and does the rest thing. But maybe they will, since an 18-week season. Pats on the win. Dolphins covering the 6.5.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting as well. All right. Next, we have the Seahawks and the Cardinals. This game is being played in Arizona. The line is Arizona minus 5.5, over under 48. I hate the Seahawks as far as their team. I just don't think they're very good. They should play this game tough. I mean, the Seahawks and Cardinals is a bit of a rivalry,
Right?
But I got the Cardinals and I got them covering.
Yeah, I have the Cardinals and I have them covering. I was really surprised by the line. The Seahawks are fucking awful, unless they're. Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. He actually had it the other way. He wants to see the Dolphins win, but he thinks the Pats will cover. We didn't go with the cover. We think the Pats will win and the Dolphins will cover. The Seahawks are fucking awful. Is Arizona not playing anybody this week? I mean, I know they're locked in, but I mean, still, give me fucking Colt McCoy. I do not see this game being this close. 5.5. I don't care if they're a division rivalry and the Seahawks are fucking atrocious. This is Russell Wilson's last game in a Seahawks uniform.
It very well could be. It could be Pete Carroll's last game there as well.
Yeah.
That actually brings up another question here from Torres. Do you think Russell stays in Seattle? I would say I'm at 85% sure that he will be gone.
Yeah, me too. I'm not going to say 100%. I'm not trying to put my stamp on this saying I'm calling my shot here. I just don't see how he stays up there with all the things that have gone on. And Goose coming in to mess with Torres there.
Yep. But no, I think Russell Wilson has a situation very close to Matthew Stafford from this past offseason. He's going to go somewhere else to a contender. Mm-hmm. They'll meet with the head coach in Hawaii and work something out, and a trade will happen this offseason. Russell will end up going for a slew of picks somewhere to a contender.
Now, so we talked about possibility of this being Vic Fangio's last year. I don't know if Aaron will leave Green Bay, especially if they win a Super Bowl. This could be a spot where we see a Russell Wilson go, depending on who they bring in as their head coach. I don't think Russell's staying. I think Vic Fangio's probably gone. The Broncos are a team that really needs a quarterback. I think that could be a really good marriage, depending on who they bring in there. I'm pretty certain Russell's done there.
How would you feel about Russell playing for your Cleveland Browns?
So there's been a lot of people trying to post things that Russell's going to come there. Russell has a no trade clause. Mm-hmm. He's not going to waive it to go to Cleveland.
You don't think?
I don't think so. I mean, it'll depend on what we do with the receiver room. I mean, he's seen our offense, right? We love running the ball. Russell wants to cook. So, I mean, I think he could absolutely end up. Yeah, I think it is Russell Wilson's last Seahawks game, and I think he could end up in Denver. That's the most logical spot I can see him ending up.
I can see Denver happening. Honestly, I think that he'd be willing to go to Cleveland. I think they
have to rework our entire wide receiver room this offseason. So
that's true, but you know what's going to draw some receivers wanting to go there?
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson. And it's a good receiver draft. So you bring in a solid guy
and Allen Robinson
through free agency, and then you bring in some young talent from the draft.
Wilson.
You know, you've got a very good offensive line. He's never had that.
No, that's
in Seattle. You know, especially, I shouldn't say never, but past 5-6 years, he hasn't had a good offensive line. You've got really good running backs there that he can lean on. And you do have some receiving options in Njoku and DPJ and whatnot. it's not out of the question. And your defense is solid as well. You've got some big names on defense.
Yeah,
and
already
he doesn't have the defense there in Seattle anymore to help bail out some of those offensive blows. I could see it being a good location for him to go. He knows that you guys 2-3 pieces away from being very good and could have been amazing this season if it weren't for injuries.
Yeah.
That's, obviously that would take a lot for the Browns to be like, we're out on Baker, but also I think we'll talk about this a little bit. Baker might be on the way out anyways on his own accord.
Well, there's been reports of that. There's been some counters to that. A lot of things have come out with that. We're going to definitely get to that when we get to the Browns game. But I don't see Russell staying. I don't know why this line is this close. I got Cardinals -5.5.
I think the Cardinals line is that close because they just haven't been as good the second half of the year. They've been playing some of these teams a lot closer than they should. And this is a rivalry game. Seattle might bring some extra juice or something like that, but
maybe.
I don't know. I do think it'll be Russell's last game with them. I'm at that 85% sure that he's going to be gone. I'm not exactly sure where yet, though I do think that Cleveland could be interesting.
I mean, it would be very interesting. I'm not gonna turn Russell Wilson down as long as I get Russell Wilson pre-finger injury.
Yeah, I mean, he'll have the whole offseason to recover. He'll have Sierra.
Because I don't,
rubbing his fucking finger to make it feel better. And whatnot.
That's exactly what Sierra's going to be rubbing is his finger.
Yeah, he can have it recover on a bet of money.
Yeah,
of her money.
Yes,
because
pretty sure she makes more than he does.
She does.
Yeah,
yeah. He makes a lot of money.
Yeah, he makes his shit load.
Yeah. All right. Next we have the Panthers and the Buccaneers being played in Tampa. Line is Tampa -8 over under a 41.5. Bucks are already in. Panthers are absolutely not. The reporting came out that Rule is going to stick around this next year. I think that he is absolutely on the hot seat, though. He could be one of those early or mid-season firings next year.
Maybe that's another team that's going out looking for a quarterback because Cam ain't it. We know Darnold ain't it.
I still think that Deshaun Watson makes sense there.
Yeah.
If they're able to figure out, his off the field situation.
Well, that and how much are the fucking Texans going to be asking for to get him over there? Because they had a trade in place, then they, backed out of that deal and asked for more. So I think the Texans are trying to hold out for, I think, probably at least 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
I don't know how they have that kind of leverage at this point. Deshaun has been healthy enough to play. He's not suspended and has refused to play for them. So I don't think that they're in a position of leverage to ask for 3 number ones, but maybe somebody will do it.
3 number ones ain't happening. It just
I don't. But that's what they bumped their offer up to.
It's true, but I mean, at some point in time, they're going to have to give in because they can't keep on sitting him on their roster, having to take up space and stuff like that, and the money that they're putting towards him.
Yeah, because he's still getting paid. He's not on the commissioner's exempt list.
Yeah.
So,
but Buccaneers in this game all the way. They should win. They should win -8. I don't know if they will, but I have no doubt in them winning this game.
Yeah, I got Bucks and I got them covering. They are they're going to bounce back from all the turmoil and shit that's gone on this week, and they need to.
I think he's talking about the Packers.
Yeah, because Devontae Adams is going to be a free agent. If Aaron leaves, I think so is Devontae.
Yep. And
if Devontae leaves, I want us to dump every ounce of money we can into getting fucking Devontae Adams. Like, pay him whatever the fuck he wants.
Hot take on where Adams will go is the Raiders.
I don't see that.
He wants to hook up with his old college quarterback.
No.
And that team is nothing but wide receiver woes. They need a guy. Devontae's shown that he can do it on his own, except for he's also got a Darren Waller there and whatnot. They got Edwards there, and they got Renfro there. They already have a better receiving core. He's got his old college quarterback, and that the Raiders team is the type of team that's going to like to throw fucking money at a dude.
Yeah, they've always thrown their money at talented wide receivers or who they think are talented wide receivers, and then they don't pan out. Basically every guy they've ever drafted or a Randy Moss.
Yeah.
So
to me, if Rodgers walks, Adams also goes.
Yep.
And that's where I think Adams will go is be a Raider.
No, fucking Cleveland better dump.
It's not what I would do.
They better back the fucking Brinks truck up to his house if he becomes a free agent.
But anyways, back to the game at hand, Bucks and Panthers. That Bucks, I got the Bucks winning. The Bucks should win -8. I'm just going to take the money line.
I got Bucks and a cover. I think they bounce back from the fucking week of turmoil, and the Panthers are. I have no idea what they are. The defense that was playing good at the beginning of the year is no longer playing good defense, and they can't score.
They have a lot of good young players on that defense, but they were playing a very interesting scheme. That was very much so coaching in the beginning of the year. It was a very interesting scheme. It's been figured out a little bit since then, but they've got a bunch of talent on that defense. If they were to have gotten rid of Rule this year, I think that is actually an enviable spot to go as a head coach to the Panthers, because with McCaffrey and the guys that you do have on defense who should only get better, you've got some receiver options. You need to figure the quarterback out.
They got to find a receiver that can catch the fucking ball.
Yeah, they absolutely have to work on that. And you know what? Maybe that goes down to coaching as well. I mean, the offensive coaching is obviously lacking to some extent. So if they were to bring in a good offensive-minded coach there, that could bode out well for him. I think Rule needs to go back to college. Look, he did really well in college. For them to stick by him through this offseason, I get it. You gave him a big contract, but you can't continue to bang your head against the wall and expect a different result. I think that they should have done away with Rule, but hey, they've said they're going to keep him. So,
yeah. Speaking of banging your head against the wall, guys, if you are hearing some noise in the background, we are in the process of replacing our floors.
It is a construction zone.
There is a little bit of a construction zone going on out there. We got some little jackhammering going on to get the rest of the mud up.
Goose and Renfro have the same hairline. Shields up. Renfro has a little bit of a better hairline than Goose, possibly. Thanks for that one, Torres.
That was good. I did enjoy that.
All right. And then lastly, we have our Sunday night game here, Chargers and Raiders. The line is Chargers -3. I do have the Chargers in this one. I just don't have a ton of faith in the Raiders. I'm going to take the Chargers plus or minus the points here, over under a 49. So they're expecting this one to kind of be a shootout.
Yeah. The Raiders have been playing much better, and I'm on the Raiders +3 here. I think they could actually win this game. Derek Carr's playing very good football. Hunter Renfro's a very good wide receiver. Now that if has Waller been back?
I honestly am not sure.
I mean, that team misses Darren Waller. If they can find a way to get him back, I think even without him, I think they can win this game. I'm kind of off on the Chargers. They just have not been super impressive at all. Now, they did get Eckler back. They played a pretty decent game. Eckler really helps that offense, but I just got a feeling about the Raiders. I think Derek Carr is going to, kind of step his game up and definitely keep this game close, possibly win. I'm not certain about the win. That's why I'm taking them the +3 points there.
It was a big win for the Chargers versus the Broncos last week. They're that team that has all this offensive firepower and some good defensive players, but they haven't seemed to put it all together yet. Mm-hmm. I still think that they're a better team than the Raiders. This is a huge game for Bisaccia with the Raiders if he wants to keep that job there. I think he's done a pretty good job given everything that's happened. But I'm not sure if they keep Bisaccia, even if he wins this game.
If he makes the playoffs, you've got to keep him. You would think. And if Bisaccia stays, that makes me think Derek Carr will probably be back again next year.
Yeah.
Because there's been talk about him getting traded, but I think a lot of that started at the beginning of the year with Gruden because him and Gruden did not see eye to eye. But if Bisaccia makes the playoffs, I think we see Derek Carr back out there in Las Vegas. I got the Raiders, I have them making the playoffs because fuck it, I'm taking them on the money line. I was gonna take the plus. Nah, fuck it. I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay where I was. I am still gonna go with the +3, but I think they can actually win this game.
All right, and I'm taking the Chargers minus the points.
All right.
So that allows us to jump back a little bit into our earlier games on Sunday. So starting off here, we have the Bears and the Vikings, a Nick Foles-led Bears team. Vikings beat the Bears a couple weeks ago. That was a Bears team that had a lot of guys on the COVID list, guys hurt and whatnot. Now, Nick Foles is expected to start. Technically, Justin Fields could play. He was on the COVID list. Last I saw was doubtful. This is, as you see, the Vikings light behind me is off. Our season is over. There is no playoffs for us. This is the end of the Mike Zimmer era. They've all but said that he's going to be gone. Team ownership has already met and talked about the plans for the future of the team.
I did not want to do that. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Let's change that. There we go.
There's already been those meetings between ownership as to the direction for the future of this team. I don't see Zimmer staying. Sad to see him go, but I'm looking forward to what the future has to hold for us. As far as the GM, Rick Spielman, they don't know what's going to go on there. He might stick around. I would be okay with him staying. There's also been talks of him possibly being promoted to a position kind of like Elway was, and still bringing in a new GM. I would be interested in that possibly because I think Spielman does good drafting. I question some of his choices with free agency and stuff like that, but I like Spielman as a GM, and I would hate to bring in just a turd of a GM. There are options, of course, with more analytic-minded guys as far as GMs. I know that the Browns have some guys actually that are in the front office that are analytically minded that are going to be looked at as potential GMs this year. As far as this game, Minnesota should win. This is at home. We are playing our starters. There's definitely questions on whether or not we should be playing them or should we be playing some of our backups to see what we got. Look, it makes sense for Zimmer to start his starters because if he gets another win, that helps his resume for going to another team as a head coach, because I think that's his path is, being a head coach again, not a defensive coordinator. It helps some of those players possibly meet incentives in their contracts and whatnot. So he's doing a solid by those guys starting them. And I don't think we're going to see a ton from guys this year. If they were playing this last game, I don't think we're going to see enough to make a huge determination on their future for the young guys at this point. Even though as a fan, I'd like to see some of the backups play just to see what we got. On the other hand, the Bears are kind of in the same situation. Nagy is all but gone. Pace may or may not be gone. Still don't know there yet either. They've got some options there, with Justin Fields for their future and everything, which will make him an interesting spot for a head coach to possibly come to. I think might have spoken about this before, but Harbaugh. It is like his dream job apparently in the NFL because, he's quarterback for them. I don't know that he will jump ship just yet to go coach the Bears, but it's an option. I have the Vikings winning this game. I have us beating the spread. Mike Zimmer is 3-0 in games that don't matter at the end of the season.
There you go.
Not for that mattering too much. I would just like to see us play a clean game. But this is, for me, it's kind of a pointless game. I'm ready for the season to be over for the Vikings so that way we can start our head coach search, a GM search if we need to, and we can start to figure out what we're going to do with Kirk Cousins. Because there's been a lot of rumors of could Kirk Cousins be traded. $45 million is due next year. If we trade him, we save $35 million on the cap. Right now, even with the increased cap, I believe we are expected to be above it. No, above it by like 11 mil. So we have shit that needs to happen with the cap. I like Cousins, but I don't think that he's the answer. And I think that we could trade him, even with that salary. We could trade him, still get a first back for that. Or we could be talking a second rounder and a couple picks. And then I would be wanting to trade that second rounder for a future first or something like that. Because if we don't get a quarterback in this draft, which isn't a great quarterback draft.
It's not at all.
The next year is going to be looking a little bit better, and that's where we probably want to focus our efforts. Again, I've got the Vikings winning this. I do have us covering, just because I would like to go out on a high note, even though this is kind of one of those pointless games that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so I have the Vikings in this game. I have them covering the 5.5. The fact that you guys are playing your starters bodes well for the bet. This is Nagy's last game as the Bears coach. I don't see him going out on a
For
high
Bears
note.
fans, I sure fucking hope so, though I would love to see him keep him.
Yeah,
that'd be funny.
I don't see Nagy going out on a high note with a win here.
There have been reports that they've already told Nagy.
Yeah, I mean, there were reports a couple weeks ago that they've already told Nagy, and they're just going to keep him through the season. And the Vikings are a far superior team to this Bears team. I like Justin Fields. I think he's got a ton of talent. I think he could be pretty good. They need a new head coach. They need a ton of stuff, and this Vikings team has really – they've been in so many games that there's a chance that, they could maybe keep Zimmer. I don't think so. They need a win. Zimmer needs a win if he's going to stay.
It's not off the table that Zimmer would stay, but if he were to stay, I feel like there would need to be dramatic changes.
Yeah.
As far as the organization would have to go to him and be like, hey, you are the head coach. We want you to be hands off of the defense, and we want you to be hands off of the offense. We want to bring in a offensive coordinator that you aren't going to force him to do one thing or the other.
Yeah.
Look, the offense,
Kubiak has been...
We've got so much talent on the offense, and we're not utilizing it correctly. And that they need some more innovation on that offensive side of the ball in order to be effective.
Yeah.
I don't think that is a good situation to put your head coach in, which is why I think that they will move on from him. But if it's not out of the realm of possibility that Zimmer stays, but there would be some pretty major organizational changes as far as handcuffing Zimmer. And I don't like having to do that to a head coach.
Right.
Some of the names here. So
before we do that, I want to let you know. So I sent an invite to Mike in the 330. He was asking if he could get in and talk on the podcast. So he may pop up in there. We do have it set where we have to allow them to show their screen, right? That is our setting.
Yep.
Okay, good. Because I don't know Mike. I talked to him the other night on the Twitter machine, but I also don't want anything crazy popping up on our screen if he does pop in here.
Absolutely.
So
is BDN the GOAT according to Goslin?
Who the fuck's BDN?
I don't know.
No, I'm going to say no because I don't even know who the fuck BDN is.
Nope. There's some weird Howie Roseman talk. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Howie Roseman's the GOAT of giving away the division.
Of bad
GMing.
All right. But for my Vikings, so I have a name of coaches that I would be okay with coming in. I don't feel like super great about any of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I can talk myself into any of them.
Okay.
All right. So Bieniemy.
Yep.
Makes sense. Chiefs offensive coordinator, former running back coach for the Vikings. He's got a little bit of a weird history, but I obviously I like the Chiefs offense. I like that he's done good things in the past he was the running backs coach for Adrian Peterson when he had that, phenomenal season where he almost broke the rushing record. He's also been like the only coach to really put AP in his place.
Yeah.
AP's been looked at as just, amazing talent and everything, and people just kind of giving him what he wants. Bieniemy kind of put him in his place and still made him work for it. I like what Bieniemy could bring. Matt Campbell, head coach of Iowa State.
Okay.
I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I do like him a lot.
A guy who has had interviews before in the past.
Yep. I think that would be an interesting one. And then I'll get to the rest of these here in a little bit because we do have
Mike in the 330. Mike, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Great show, by the way. I've been listening all afternoon.
I appreciate it, man.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So you're in the 330. So for people who don't know, that is in Ohio, the Akron area. 216. Is going to be your Cleveland. So Mike, in the 330, where are you at in the 330?
Cuyahoga Falls, just north of Akron.
Okay, Cuyahoga Falls. I am familiar with the place. So obviously you've been listening to the show. We haven't quite got to the Browns talk yet. We were talking a little bit about some coaching selections, some possibilities. I don't feel like the Browns are going to be in a position where they're going to have to look for and, be in a coaching search. There's been a ton of nonsense on Twitter about, possibility of getting rid of Stefanski because him and Baker are not getting along.
That's just a horrible.
It's a horrible take. I
would take Stefanski back on the Vikings any day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you. Yeah, I think that getting rid of him, that's preposterous. I think there's things that can be worked out in the sense of, I've said it before, it's not just one thing that was costing the Browns problems this year. It was all across the board. And to me, it was mostly like part of it was play calling was a big part of it. Baker wasn't hitting his receivers. That's just the start. Injuries were a factor. COVID was a factor, but injuries and COVID were a factor for everybody in the NFL. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. Defense, they spun their wheels a few times. I mean, you got boat raced against New England, and they got boat raced against Arizona. So, I mean, it was things that they've cleaned it up. They've played very well down the rest of the way. And I, go back to injuries, Baker. Don't tell me it wasn't part of it. His problem wasn't his injury. I mean, whenever I've said it before, I think I said it on Spaces the other night. Whenever I hear the word tear or torn, when it comes to a professional athlete, that's not good. That's not good at all. That's like I said, it's like nails across a chalkboard. It's right up there with high ankle sprain or walking boot. You know what I mean? It's not good. Or, MCL or ACL tear. So I think there was a lot of factors that need to be. I think Stefanski does need to change some of the play calling. I just didn't understand it. Why you'd go with an empty backfield on 1st and 10. That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, you're not disguising the run at all when you've got four very good running backs, arguably one of the best in the league with Nick Chubb. So, I mean, part of that, you want to have deception. And then another thing is, we know he loves to go for it on 4th down. But meaning Stefanski. If I'm a defensive coordinator and I see the Browns on my schedule, I know I'm going to practice my 4th down schemes, defensive packages all week long because I know he's going to want to go for it. So it's not like it's a mystery that when it's 4th down, let's see, the Browns are going to go for it. Well, let's throw it out there. We practice it, guys. Let's do it. So they're ready for it. That's just part of the problem. That's just some of what I've seen.
Yeah, look, from a non-Browns fan in particular, though, I'm becoming much more of a Browns fan because of Stefanski and stuff like that, and because hosting the show with Mike, I'm not sold on Baker, but just like you brought up, that injury is huge. Yeah. You don't really know what you have because his play this year has a huge part of it is that injury. Wearing that harness throws off the throwing motion, throws off the accuracy, and that's been a huge problem is that accuracy. Some of it's the decision making for sure, but he's not 100%, and there's no way that you can truly gauge how good the guy is and how good he can be for your team when you're playing, handicapped. I like Baker, and I think that they should.
So do I.
They should definitely ride out this 5th year with him to see what they got. But it might be tough to do that, especially with some of those reports of possibly him trying to force his way out. I don't know how much credibility I give to him trying to force his way out, but I think that him and Stefanski and they're able to sit down this offseason. They're able to work out some stuff with that playbook and maybe mix in a little bit more stuff instead of always running on 1st down and things like that. Yes, you do have one of the best running backs in the NFL in Chubb, and you absolutely need to use that, but you need to not be so predictable on those 1st downs. And then once Baker's able to get that shoulder feeling a little bit better, I think you're able to see a lot more of the potential out of him, which will make it really interesting next season.
Yeah. So, and I'm on the same boat. There's no way that we can say, oh, well, Baker is just this guy. So we've talked in the past, when you're an inaccurate quarterback, typically you don't get a ton better with your accuracy. You can change some things mechanically. We saw Josh Allen get much better as an accurate passer. But at the same time, accuracy just doesn't fucking disappear either. It's not something that just, all of a sudden, I don't know how to throw the fucking ball into a window anymore. Baker has that ability. It's still in there. So you can't say that that injury is not a part of it. It absolutely is a part of it. Now, I'm not saying we go back next year and we run everything back exactly the same.
No,
That team
God,
needs some
no.
work. We got to rework that wide receiver room, especially. I'm okay with getting rid of a guy like Hooper, using that money elsewhere to go out and bolster that wide receiver room. We can always draft another tight end. I like Njoku as our number one. He's gotten much better as a blocker.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that do need to happen, but to say, okay, no, Baker's not the guy or Stefanski's not the coach. You don't go from coach of the year to an absolute dumpster fire. Now, I understand the play calling may not be what everybody wanted. I think the play calling was probably adjusted, though, because of Baker's injury. Baker wanted to be the same guy that he always was. And I think it took Baker a little bit of time to realize that he was not the same. Baker is still a young man. He's 25 years old.
Yeah,
I was not necessarily the most self-aware person at the age of 25. Like that just, it doesn't happen. Now, this will probably put him in a more mindset, understanding about who he is, what he can do, how he can play. So I think we bring him back on a fifth-year option. We bring in a guy to compete because we can't not have somebody to compete with. I like Case. Case is a pretty good backup. But, if Mitchell Trubisky's out there, let's let him compete with Mitchell. I think that puts a chip on his shoulder. He now understands who and what he is, what he can do. And then we see the best Baker that we could get. Yeah. But we can't drop a Stefanski. If you're on Twitter saying get rid of Stefanski, you're a fucking idiot.
No,
if you're saying Baker is just not an accurate quarterback, well, based on maybe this year, but one of the best tight window throwers in all of football had the previous fucking three.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm didn't interrupt you.
No. Go ahead, Mike.
Look at what he did in the second half of last year. And we weren't playing the same teams as last year, but look at what he did last year in that second half compared to after this injury this year. I mean, it's like comparing a pineapple to an orange or a grape. It's not the same. He regressed, and don't tell me that the injury didn't have a factor into it. I mean, like I said, if I hear the word tear or torn when it comes to a professional athlete, that's a red flag. Bells and whistles should be going off. And I really don't understand then why, if the key to your offense there, as far as your quarterback is injured, why you would keep playing him. I don't understand. And again, but who's drawing up the roster? The head coach. I mean, with the play calling too, it's like, okay, it's not like we're hearing Baker yelling out Omaha like Manning used to. He's changing the play at the line. I mean, some of these things were just painfully obvious. Another thing I thought of was too, is like as soon as after that injury occurred, and that was earlier in the season, why is it then they were not utilizing the fullback back more in the backfield, just if anything to protect him? I mean, look at how many times he had gotten sacked after that game. I mean, throughout the rest of the year, and he's getting pounded. And he came out.
We saw that rear its ugly head in that Pittsburgh game where we were not chipping on TJ.
Yeah, I mean, but TJ had a great game. I mean, obviously, but I mean, he's going against a rookie right tackle. For God's sake, and the only time you saw the fullback was on that one play before they scored. I was like, well, protect your quarterback. I mean, why do you think they went out when they drafted Jedrick Wills? It was because they needed even though Jed came in as a right tackle, they moved him to left. He had, he took to it like a duck to water in his rookie season. Why would you not, tell Stanton or whomever, hey, get ready. You're going to be in there. You're going to be blocking. I need you to stop the pass rush.
Well, and that's a perfect spot where we could have put Hooper as well, a guy who is a really good blocker who has not been great in the passing game.
It just, to me, it's football 101. I mean, it's really, that's just common sense. Protect the quarterback. And then with players not playing up to their best. Everyone was saying, Baker can't throw the ball right. And he was throwing balls. I saw like against the Vikings. He was airmailing them. I mean, he was sending them next day air. I mean, he admitted he didn't have a good game. We all knew he didn't. And then I've seen where he throws balls too low. But I think too, part of it was on the pass rush, but part of it's like some of these balls were on the money to these wide receivers. And they're bouncing off. And like even in that last game, I mean, was it Hooper? He really flubbed on a few of them, and it's like they were right to him. You can't do that. You got to be able to. You got to catch that ball. What's the number one job priority job for a wide receiver?
Yeah, you got to catch the fucking ball. If you don't catch the ball,
yeah,
you're not doing
what
the job.
you get. Run your route, catch the ball. But they weren't doing that. And
no.
But then too, I think sometimes I've mentioned it, and I'm maybe Bake needs to think about how hard he's sometimes. I mean, every time I see him throwing that ball, he is. I don't care if it's okay. I get it if it's on a deep route, but on some of these short yard passes, I mean, he's firing it in there like a bullet. Now I know you got to get that ball out quick, but I mean,
that's also kind of a pro. Baker, a lot of torque up top when he throws.
Yeah.
But
all
right, Mike. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you hopping in and joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to hop back in. We're going to get back into some coaching talk, and then we'll give our picks for this Bengals Browns game coming up. And I like our chances much better this week.
Yeah, me too. And yeah, thanks again for having me, guys. I had a good time. Great show. You guys do a great job, and go Browns.
Go Browns.
Yep.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mike. That's awesome having you on. You have a good one.
Yep, thank you. Bye.
All righty, so that was Mike in the 330.
Mike in the 330.
Nice to have another FaceTime type call in. That's awesome. Love having some new people on the show. We had Torres, comment while Mike was on. I think that Baker's a good investment, tough dude. Give him a chance. Browns didn't have the best schedule this season. Look, Baker, like we were just talking about, in previous seasons, he's shown to be an accurate guy.
Yes.
This accuracy issue has come on in the latter part of the season since he's been hurt.
Yep.
One thing that I don't think people understand necessarily, and maybe it's overplayed to some extent, but has anyone tried to throw a football with shoulder pads on? It's
entirely fucking different, by the way.
It's way more difficult than you would expect. Now these guys have done it through their youth and everything, and have gotten used to throwing shoulder pads on. But then you throw on this harness, which is extremely limiting to your movement and your motion. It just throws off the feel of throwing that football. It makes a big difference. Throw them just with a harness on, if you're healthy, is going to mess you up.
Yep.
The guy's hurt. And that's when you see these accuracy issues come into play. Now, it sucks that the fan base has kind of gone after Baker. It sucks that the season has gone the way that it's gone. But I think, you have a guy in Baker who has gone out there even with this injury, and he's had the moxie to keep on playing. When he got that injury or was injured, I believe, versus the Texans, and I thought he was done in that game. And then he comes back out. That shows a lot about him. Now, maybe he should have been sat. That's, a coaching thing that needs to be figured out. Stefanski's still a young coach.
There's two sides of that. If Baker says I'm good, then coach is going to believe him. That's where Baker has to realize, okay, listen, I am banged up. I'm not the guy that I was at the start of the year. That's two sides of the same coin. They both should have been. Somebody should have gone to the other one and be like, all right, listen, this is not fucking working. But that is to dump Baker, I think, is a bad decision. If you're talking about getting rid of Stefanski, shut the fuck up. Like, we in the Browns community are so quick to instantly go to, this is the worst possible thing that could ever happen. It can never be worse, because that's what we grew up with. We were terrible.
Yeah.
And Baker's a guy that took us to the playoffs, won a playoff game, had us in contention this year, even though he cost us some games. Like, we can't just oh, fuck it.
The Browns fans got to realize this is not the Browns of old.
No,
this is a very good team. You've got a good coaching staff. You've got a lot of great players on this team.
I love our fucking front office.
This was a year where everything just did not go your way.
I saw a little stat that came out. So we talked about injuries all the time, right? So the Eagles were one of the healthiest teams all year. That's why they're making that playoff push. That's why they're in the playoffs, right? The Browns only had 8 guys on their entire team that were active for every single fucking game this year. 8. That is the lowest in the NFL by a pretty decent fucking margin. Injuries played a massive factor. We saw COVID run rampant in that Browns facility. This is not it's time to dump and restart over. That's not where we're at, guys. That is not where the fuck we're at. And if we do that, we're gonna go back to the Browns of old, and I'm not fucking doing that. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not ready for that yet.
Now, of course, injuries are a part of the game. You got to learn to be able to play with them and stuff like that. But sometimes you have situations where things just don't fall your way, and you end up having a season like you had. But I think you go back to the beginning of the year, and if you start over and none of these injuries happen, the Browns are a playoff team.
Yeah.
They're still one of the better teams in the AFC. And you're going to have some turnover. You're going to have some changes this offseason. But I don't see how getting rid of Baker makes you a better team for next year.
Yeah, I don't either.
If you bring in a
competition,
quarterback that if you were to get rid of Baker and bring in a quarterback that you know what you got in him, be it a Kirk Cousins, a Russell Wilson, something like that, an established quarterback, yes.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Then you could potentially get better. But right now, Baker's your best option, and I don't think it's a bad option.
I don't either.
If you get him healthy and you take the offseason to work out the kinks of what happened this year and you're able to stay relatively healthy, you guys are a deep playoff run team. It's now you're talking about bringing in Trubisky as competition. I think that's a fucking joke because I hate Trubisky. Look, the guy can't throw left.
I know.
He can't. He's got like a 5% completion rating to the left.
I'm
so all
one
you
of
gotta
those
do is guard
types
the
of
right side
guys,
the
a
field.
former starter who,
Yeah,
because I want Baker to be the guy, but you got to bring in somebody. If you bring in an established guy, then Baker's gone, right? You got to bring in some competition to make him work for it, earn that spot again. So,
yeah,
that's where I'm at on that.
We did get an answer on who BDN is.
Okay,
that's Big Dick Nick. He's the best coming off of the bench.
Yeah, he is the best coming off the bench.
But he's
I'm a big fan of the Big Pole Foles. It rolls off the tongue so easy.
There's a lot of those little nicknames for Folesy. We also have Joe Rockstar here. Season records that can't be predicted. 1, injuries to too many key players. 2, COVID. 3, horrible officials.
So Joe just basically broke down the Brown season.
Mm-hmm.
So
look, there's things that you can't predict like that can derail a season.
Yeah.
Part of that can be said definitely for Joe's team, for the 49ers, especially maybe not even just this year, but
last year for sure.
They've been a top to bottom extremely good roster, and then they have all sorts of injuries that really take them out of the hunt. You can't completely plan for those things. You have to play around them, but even so, sometimes it's just insurmountable.
Yeah.
Look, if the Bulls were to lose Jordan due to injury, they ain't going to be the same Bulls type thing. And obviously, Baker ain't Jordan.
No, not even close. But when you lose the most valuable position, because he was obviously still out there, but he's not the same. Your most valuable player in the most valuable position in all sports gets injured, there's going to be a downtick. I mean, that's just going to happen.
So
we were on some
the
Vikings
and
head
coaching stuff. So I had said Bieniemy. I like Bieniemy. I like Matt Campbell. So Byron Leftwich. I think Leftwich is going to go to the Jaguars. It makes sense to me. Leftwich was their coach there before, or not coach. He was their quarterback. He knows the organization, albeit different ownership and stuff like that. But the homecoming kind of idea of bringing Leftwich back there makes sense. Leftwich being a quarterback could help out Lawrence a little bit. So he understands that part of the game. I'm not completely sold on Leftwich personally, but you hear the stories about him with the broken leg at Marshall and stuff like that, and still playing through. Arians, when he left the league, when he left the Cardinals, he said, if I ever come back, I'm not calling plays anymore. The guy that he has trusted and relied on is Leftwich. That's his guy calling plays. That says a lot if Bruce Arians is the one boosting
one of the great play callers of the last probably decade.
Yep. And Leftwich, you can say what you want about his offensive play calling, about having Brady there and probably being a huge part of the play call and stuff like that in the offense. But Leftwich is a guy that players rally around. Players really like Leftwich. They like playing with him. They like playing for him. So I think that would be a good culture thing for the Jaguars. Now, talking about the Vikings position, offensive coordinator with that sort of, players like him, things like that, I think it wouldn't be a bad pickup for the Vikings. All right. Brian Daboll. So
that's a name I really like.
Yeah. I like what he's done with Buffalo. I like how he's developed Josh Allen. There are some knocks on him. They don't have any running game there.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a Dalvin Cook,
well, they don't have a Dalvin Cook up there.
exactly. If you have a Dalvin Cook there, I think he's going to be able to mix in more running. All right. So I like what Daboll could bring. Kevin O'Connell, he's an offensive coordinator for the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Former quarterback in the NFL, backup, but I like what he has done with their offensive system. He's still a relatively young guy, and having been a player, he understands what it's like to be in the locker room and stuff like that. So I like him as an option. He's one of the lower tier options, of course, not being talked about a ton, but I think that that could be a good pickup as a head coach. There is Jim Harbaugh.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't a huge fan of him with the 49ers, but obviously what he has done in Michigan has been pretty good. I think if he comes back to the NFL, it'll be for the Bears job.
That's where he wants to be, is the NFL.
Yeah.
I think. I know he said Michigan was his dream job because that's where he played. He wants to be back in the NFL.
And that's his dream job in the NFL is the Bears.
Yeah.
So he said that too. And so if he comes back, I see it being for the Bears, but he's someone that could still be an option on the table. Doug Peterson, talked about him as well.
We did.
I wasn't a big fan of him as the Eagles head coach, but he obviously was able to get it done, go to the big show, win the big game. He is a veteran NFL coach. He's had a year off. He's able to sit back, watch, learn, adjust. He's going to be able to bring in good coordinators and stuff with him because he's got that history. It wouldn't be a horrible option. And again, offensive-minded head coach. So something that I think that we need to kind of switch to. And then lastly, not an offensive coordinator, Dave Toub, or Tobe. I don't know exactly how to say his name. He's a special teams coordinator for the Chiefs. This is a guy who's been looked at a lot for head coaching candidacy stuff. You don't see special teams coaches becoming head coaches very often, but a lot of times, look, special teams coaches, they know every player on the team.
They do,
because they utilize guys from the offense and defense on their units. Being away from one side of the ball allows them to be a little bit more agnostic to one side of the ball.
Right, so they can just be that head coach.
They can allow their coordinators to flourish, and they are definitely doing more of that hands-off management of the team rather than forcing one agenda on offense or defense. You have a little bit more parity into how you draft and things like that. From everything I've heard, is a phenomenal coach, someone that the players like. And so if we're going to not go for an offensive-minded head coach, that's the guy that I think that I would like to go after personally. Though, again, for reasons that I kind of stated earlier, I would like us to go for an offensive coach because then that allows us to build hopefully a new quarterback going forward under one system and let them stick with that system for a little while. There's other defensive coordinators out there that I do kind of like, but I would like us to switch and go to an offensive-minded system. Also, with that being said, Kirk Cousins, I'm completely fine with letting him go, trading him for what we can get
you guys
for him.
need to for the cap space.
Cap space. Cousins has come out and said that he wants to finish his career in Minnesota. If he wants to do that,
take less money.
I would like to see him do a contract extension that puts him below his current cap number.
Yeah.
So that way he can have good pieces around him.
Well, fully guaranteed makes it ridiculous. So
yeah. But Cousins is what he is. If he's put onto a Browns roster, I think that he does as good as he did with the Vikings and better. And statistically, he's been phenomenal.
Yeah, statistically, he's been great.
He's just not the guy that's going to be electric and win you huge games based on just his play solely.
Right.
It's got to be those stars around him. But I'm kind of ready to move on personally.
Move on from Zim, move on from Kirk, and say, all right.
The problem is that we don't have anyone in-house to take over at quarterback. We would need a bridge quarterback, and we would need to look towards the draft. And again, we've talked about the quarterbacks in this draft this year. I've got guys that excite me now in this draft, but no one that I feel confident in.
Right.
So I could see us, if we don't move him this year, if we keep Cousins, that stays on his deal that he currently has, and we look towards not this coming draft, but the next draft and compiling picks for that. So that way the new head coach that we bring in is able to go out and get his guy.
All right. Well, so one name that I did not hear on your list was fucking Bill O'Brien, who is looking to have an interview with the Jags. Obviously, now we know Leftwich is going to go interview with the Jags. I don't dislike Leftwich there. What I do hate, though, is Bill O'Brien possibly going there. Bill O'Brien was especially if he's going to the Jags, because they just gave Urban Meyer full control, never having coached in the NFL. Bill O'Brien is a guy who was a GM and a head coach for the Texans, and he fucking decimated that goddamn team. And absolutely decimated that team by trading away D-Hop for a bag of fucking balls, giving up multiple first-round picks for a left tackle. Like, he is a retread, but he just went to that Nick Saban fucking coach's reclamation project, and now he's looking at getting more head coaching jobs. That's what happens. Guys go to Nick Saban when they've fucking struggled, and they get another chance. And I think if you're a Jags fan, I would absolutely not want Bill O'Brien anywhere near my goddamn facility.
So that's the thing, is that I believe Bill O'Brien has shown to be, as far as schematically, a good coach, good offensive coach. You don't want him anywhere near the front fucking office.
No, absolutely not.
That is for sure.
But what's going to happen with this Jags job? They just gave that to Urban Meyer, who's never fucking done it.
Hopefully it was a lesson learned. And if they were to bring in a Bill O'Brien, he has no decision making as far as that front office, that you bring in a true GM to take care of that stuff. That's the only way that I see this situation working. And obviously, if they're going to interview him, that's going to be probably the highlight of the interview, is talking about
listen,
what happened in Houston? What would you have done different? Would you have traded away one of the best wide receivers in the league? Would you have given away all these picks for tackles and stuff like that? I think he is a good offensive-minded coach. He scares me.
Yeah.
He absolutely scares me, even as a coach alone. But I think he's shown that he can coach schematically well and stuff like that. I don't know how his candor and everything works well with those players, but it's an option. I still think Leftwich is the guy to go there to Jacksonville.
I think so too.
And then we got Joe Rockstar here, 5th round picks of the new number 1 pick.
If you're Bill O'Brien, they fucking are.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, so Sean McVay is all about fuck them picks, and what the hell's their GM's name?
Snead?
Is it Snead? Yeah, Snead. Fuck them picks.
So.
But they're trading for, guys that come in and contribute, play a big role, not getting rid of a number 1 receiver for not even a number 1 pick. Get a fucking second rounder. You give up multiple firsts for a left tackle. It was terrible. I hope he does not get that job. I no ill will, but God, the Jags do not need that kind of juju in that building, especially if they allow him any front office control. It would be awful.
Yep.
All
right. So moving on, we have the Bengals and the Browns. Last game to talk about this week. Bengals and the Browns being played in Cleveland. The line currently has Cleveland -6, over under of 37.
Yeah. So Bears are going to win. The Bears, Jesus Christ. The Browns are going to win, and they're going to cover, but it's only because Joe Burrow's not playing. He's already been ruled out. Brandon Allen is the backup. Joe Burrow texted him, said, "Hey, guess what? Tag, you're it." So the Bengals are in. They have nothing to play for. They're going to rest most of their guys. The Browns are going to continue to play. They want to put some good tape out there. Case Keenum is going to start this game. I hope that we see some Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb was not happy after last game. I don't know why he's on the sideline as much as he is. I feel like Nick's a pretty goddamn durable guy. He needs some more carry. He needs more touches. I'd like to see him get more involved in the passing game. So the Browns are going to win. The Bengals don't care. They're resting. My money's on the -6 for the Browns, but obviously we had Mike in the 303 on. That's not the only Browns talk I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about some of the things that have been coming out, because we kind of alluded to it. I don't necessarily know if we got to it very much, about the possibility of Baker trying to force his way out of town. So Mary Kay Cabot, reporter in Cleveland, said that Baker Mayfield must resolve his differences with Kevin Stefanski soon in case they need to coexist next season. Also, some names that will be on whatever. So she's basically saying they got to figure it out, or Baker's going to force his way out of town if they don't come to some sort of agreement and get what he wants. And Baker came back and said, clickbait, you and many other Cleveland local media continue to be drama-stirring reporters with no sources or facts. Don't put words in my mouth so you can put food on your table. I'm not your puppet. That's a pretty resounding shut the fuck up. I don't think Baker is going to try to force his way out. I think Baker wants to come back and prove that he can be the guy in Cleveland. He wanted to go to Cleveland. Obviously, he wanted to go to Cleveland because we had the number one pick, but I also think that he really likes Cleveland. And so many other reports have come out after Baker kind of took this shot at Mary Kay. He's catching it from all sides now. Paul Feinbaum called him a punk and said he's a poor man's Johnny Manziel, which is a very bold statement. Obviously, Colin Cowherd has been having a goddamn field day with this because, well, that's what Colin does. He likes to try to bury Baker whenever possible. And it's a wild situation. I don't see it happening. And where the hell did Johnny Manziel actually responded to this? I'm trying to find what his response was. Now, I don't know how much I can trust this. This is from Clutch Points.
Mm-hmm.
So take that with a grain of salt.
Torres says, nice tablet.
Hey, thanks, man. You got me on it.
Okay.
So Johnny Manziel responded with trending, because obviously his name was trending along, and then the Homer Simpson backing out into the bushes thing.
Yep.
It's so Baker's not going to force his way out. Baker is one of those guys. He has a ton of moxie. He wants to be the guy. He's not a guy who's going to shy away from these kinds of reports. This is the first time we've really seen Baker go back at the media in quite some time. And he is right that the Cleveland media can be a bunch of fucking shit stirrers. Tony Grossi at one point called him a fucking midget and got caught on a hot mic. And Baker did not respond. Like, I'm good with Baker going back to the old Baker where he is a fucking loudmouth and he's kind of a prick. I'm good with prick quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers is a prick quarterback. He has no problem burying people in the media. As long as your play backs it up, be who you can afford to be. But he's got to come back and he's got to play better.
Yep.
He's done for the season. He's getting the surgery. I'm excited, and I hope that we do bring Baker back, bring in some competition, rework the receiver room, and we can go on into next season and avoid injuries, and hopefully COVID's fucking dead by then.
Yeah, I think that's the best option is you keep Baker on the 5th year. You allow him to prove who he is. If he shows that he's good, you guys are going to have to pay him a pretty penny for sure.
Yeah.
To keep him around. But that's worth it if you have your franchise quarterback.
Correct.
It's absolutely worth it. But going out and yeah, you can get rid of him. And I understand getting rid of him if you are getting one of those top end quarterbacks in return.
I understand that.
Not that you necessarily want him, but we're talking Deshaun Watson, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. If that were to somehow happen, I don't think that happens.
Don't get me wrong, I'm taking Aaron all day.
There's going to be guys who could be available this offseason who would provide an immediate upgrade.
Yeah.
If they want to go that route. But for the sake of the cap,
for the sake of the fucking draft capital it'll take to do it,
it's probably best to keep him there because I think you and I both believe that he has the talent to be the starting quarterback in Cleveland next year and going forward.
Correct.
As long as he is healthy and they work out their little schematic issues.
Yep. I agree. I absolutely agree. So one thing I did want to note, guys, anybody who was, nervous about, the Bills covering 16.5, Braxton Berrios is on IR for the Jets. He's their best fucking offensive weapon.
Yep.
Bills are going to cover 16.5. That's a lot of points, but I feel really good about it now. We got NFL Network up, saw that come across the ticker. I was like, okay, well, the Jets are fucked.
Yeah.
But
Jets are fucked to begin with.
Correct. All right, man. You got anything else?
No, dude.
Pretty good show. Got our NFL in. We got coaches. We talked college. Had quite a few comments. We had guest on the show, Mike in the 330. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate that. It was a pretty good day.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to get this weekend over with. I'm ready for the Vikings offseason.
Are you ready for the offseason?
People are adverse to change a lot of times. I'm ready. Like I like Mike Zimmer.
Yeah,
I'll be sad to see him go, but I'm ready to start over. I'm ready to start figuring this shit out. And I don't think it's a full rebuild that we have to do. I'm just looking forward to seeing the direction forward of this team.
All right. I'm interested to see how you guys do. I'm actually very nervous for this offseason.
Colts Pack Super Bowl? No, I don't think the Packers will make it to the Super Bowl.
Chiefs Packers Super Bowl.
I don't think the Packers will make it to the Super Bowl.
I'm nervous for this offseason because it's going to be a shitstorm on every social media outlet for the next 6 months.
Yep.
So
we'll have lots to talk about.
Yes, we will. Even when there aren't games, the NFL is always going on. So
bad take, Torres. Bad take. Pack them.
All right, guys. We're gonna get the fuck out of here. I'm sure you guys can hear like the jackhammering going on in the background. I'm gonna go help my father-in-law who flew down to help us do the floors. And then I'm going to relax for as much as possible before I got to take my ass up to Tucson and go watch some hockey.
All right. Well, you have fun with that game tonight.
I'm very excited.
I would totally go if I could, but I can't. I got more adulting shit to do.
Nah.
So, all right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this Saturday episode of the Lineman Lounge before we get some Week 18 football going. And we'll look forward to talking to you next week about the playoffs.
Fucking super wild card weekend.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Stupid ass name. Guys, thank you very much. Thank you for the support. You catch us on Facebook, Twitter. This has been airing on YouTube as well. Instagram. We still don't have TikTok. Apparently my temporary suspension appears to be indefinite, even though it still says temporary. So TikTok can lick my asshole.
You know what it probably was? It's probably that I've talked shit about Xi Jinping. Because TikTok's China.
Yeah. Man.
Fuck it. Don't give a shit.
Fuck them. I don't need TikTok. I have all of this.
Yeah.
So, guys, thank you very much. This is the Lineman Lounge. We are the thickest podcast in sports. We'll be back next Saturday. See you.
Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from the Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional. Strap in. The show starts right now.